Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining me at this last minute. Oh, yep. Like I said, last minute. I have the wrong logo up. There we go. It's the Grey Knights logo now. It was Deathwatch. Thank you for joining me and Quinn on this last minute stream. We've been talking about doing this for like a week, and we finally both had time off together, which actually it is fortuitous because you just got off of what, 8 games of 10th with Grey Knights just today? You did an Iron Man or something, right?
I didn't get 8 games in, but we had 8 people come to the shop this morning at 10 a.m. and then we all just started getting games in all day. I got in 2 today, no 3 today, 2 yesterday, but 5 games in the last 2 days.
Right. You've had 5 times the games I have in 10th, because I have 1 under my belt now.
Ooh, there you go.
So Quinn, I don't know, I've introduced him before. Quinn is a much better player than I am. We have tournament, lots of tournament experience. 22nd place at LVO last year, playing Grey Knights. So you were the 2nd best Grey Knight player that went to LVO. You're only beaten out by 1 spot by Derek. He came in 21st. You came in 22nd. So you're pretty good at this game. So why don't you give me your impressions? Your like just your elevator. I don't know. Not pitch.
I mean, for what? Grey Knights or just like the game in general?
Grey Knights.
Either way. Oh, I'd roll 4-ups.
Roll 4-ups, you're fine.
Yeah, that's all we got.
You just roll 6s. Yeah.
Yeah. If only. I mean, so when they first showed us any spoilers, I wasn't a fan of what I saw. So it's like right now, as a whole, when I look at what we have, I am not a fan. Everybody was like, "Oh man, Grey Knights are just going to be everything, everywhere, all at once."
Mm-hmm.
And so far, it's like, yes, we have really cool map manipulation, but if your opponent screens you out, can't really do anything. So it's like that took away what.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If they bring 3 5-mans of like infiltrators.
I mean,
like what do you do?
That or if they just play knights and they just have like 3 knights in their backfield and then they just have a couple up. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
What we do, but other than when I looked over, I guess we'll just start at like the beginning. So it's like the army rules. Being able to pick up 3 units at the end of your opponent's turn. I have found myself really only doing that if I've got a bunch of librarians on the field. Because I want to pick up the librarian, and I want to put the librarian back down.
Yeah.
Other than that...
Vortex of Doom.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Everything else so far is...
Or Vortex of Boom.
Right. Well, JP, the other Grey Knights player that you've talked to before after he won our Invitational, he came and he played a game yesterday and he played a game today. Mm-hmm. And I think he said out of both games, he attempted Vortex 7 times and rolled 5 1s.
Beautiful. Yeah, in my 1 game, I tried it 3 times. Twice, and I rolled 2 1s, and then I did like 4 more wounds to myself both times, and then I saved all 4 of them. So effectively, nothing happened except my opponent got to watch me roll dice a bunch, which was fun.
Oh yeah, that's rough, man.
Yeah, but I mean, you know,
at least so it all depends because the way I run them, they don't get that save if they're not attached to a unit, right?
Yeah, that's true.
It's like yesterday when it happened to me, I rolled a 1 and then I rolled a 5 on the D6, and I was like, okay, well, my guy's gone.
Guess he just killed himself. Is there still the rule where you blow up? I assume not, because
no.
Yeah. At least you didn't then blow up and kill some other stuff around you.
True. But being able to pick up 3 units is good. In my second game today against Custodes, I found myself just picking up a lot of things just to try and prepare for if Engage got flipped from the card deck or Behind Enemy Lines was flipped. It's
10th is
fine.
Like 10th is so interesting because I don't even have like an interview format yet, you know, because like usually if you go to a tournament, I ask you a little bit about yourself, we go into your list, we go into your secondaries, all this stuff. But 10th kind of blew all this shit out of the water, so like I don't even like, why don't we start with your list? We'll just get that out of the way.
That's fair.
I mean,
we'll talk
out of the way. I'm sorry, that sounded pretty dismissive, but anyway.
Oh, you're good. We'll talk about the one that I've played the most games with, which is
okay. So you don't want to talk about the Storm Raven list yet. You want to talk about. All right, everybody. I hope you are sitting down because when he sent me this list, I thought he was screwing with me. Apparently, he's played a bunch of games with this list, which also might. I'm sorry, buddy, but it might affect kind of the way you feel about Grey Knights at the moment. But here we go. He brought four data sheets total. 3 of each. 3 Grandmaster Dreadknights, 3 Tech Marines, 3 normal Dreadknights. Did you put hammers on them or swords?
I did. No, I got 6 hammers.
Beautiful. And then 3 Libbies. So he has 6 characters as all of his infantry. Or no, I'm sorry, 9 characters because of the Grandmasters. But all of his infantry are characters not attached to squads. So you went full on like Voltron here. What, just I don't know, tell me why this isn't ass.
It's hard for me to tell you that it's not, but I played 2 games against Imperial Knights. The first game, top of 2, I advanced and charged with 3 of the Dreadknights, so it's like that's 3. One of the Grandmasters just kind of walked around the big L so he didn't get hit by towering, so that way I could YOLO a charge into another thing, and then I dropped a Grandmaster in on top of 2 in order to try and long bomb charge a knight. Then we dropped in Libbies so we could Vortex of Doom that big knight in hopes that we could just maybe soften it up. So top of 2, I killed 4 small knights and a big knight. And that left him with 1 big knight and 3 small knights. And I was like, this is feeling pretty good. And by that, I mean, I made a lot of charges. Yeah. Thankfully, 3 of them were free. 2 of them were, 4 of them were free. 1 of them was the long bomb charge. But we made that, and I don't think I had to reroll. So game 2.
And the Grandmaster Dreadknights, you pop the, you know.
Oh,
only one of them can do it a turn, but each one of them can do it once a game, and you get just full rerolls, including damage. Like legitimate full rerolls.
It was nice because I think the Librarians dealt, after the Knights Feel No Pain, I think I dealt 12 mortals between the Libbies to the big knight, putting him to 12. And then the Grandmaster charges uses his once per game. I hit with all 5. I wounded with 3 of them after 3 or 4 of them after the rerolls, putting him on 6-ups. He failed all of them, and it was just, I think the first couple of D6s were not good, and I think I had a 5, so I was like, well, that's 6, and then we re-rolled the other 2, and he just popped right there. And then the hammers and all the other ones, I got really lucky on 4-ups, and I just hit with a bunch, wounded with a bunch, and then that puts him on 6-ups, and he just had nothing. I think 2 of the knights I had kind of softened up in shooting with the side cannons, because if he does fail one, that is 3 damage. But I did have to soften up the ones, because he dished out the 2 bondsman abilities for -1 damage on 2 of them, so I had to put some firepower into those. But then the hammers, again, the D6 +1. If you wound and you roll well on the damage, it just picks them up. Game 2,
just roll 4s, right?
Yeah, roll 4s.
Fred is calling you a savage. He says this is an absolute crazy savage list. So,
I mean, you do what you got to do.
This is definitely this definitely shows the different ways that you and I think about this game, right? This is 10th. There are no tournament winners, no GT or major winners to like offer you coaching. Like everybody is figuring this out right now, and you're just like, I'm gonna take every walker I can, except Dreadnoughts, I guess. But like, and the rest of us are like, oh, how do we make Paladins work? They're only 51 points apiece, guys. What a deal!
My favorite models in this army are baby carriers. So I was like, I can play 6, and then I can play 3 Librarians and 3 Tech Marines, and I think one of them had the upgrade for Sigil. So I was like, all right, cool. So we can just kind of poof it.
Poof.
Yeah, but game 2 against the Knights, kind of the same thing. I made a lot of 4-ups against his shooting phase, so that way I could just kind of walk up to his Knights and then tag him and say, you're it. Let's see. World Eaters. It's really hard for them to touch you, because when they try and Lord Avocado into a unit, you just kind of throw that unit up in the air.
Yep, you just miss it
it's
out.
like, okay, that's bad. And 6/11 Flamers for Overwatch, also not the worst.
Nope.
So it hasn't been too terrible. And again, it's like the 4-up invuln. If you just roll 4-ups, it's really hard for them to beat you. And then Vortex of Doom against non-vehicle armies. It's when you've got even just 2d3 mortals going in. I rolled a lot of 4 damage mortals. You know, when that pops an Exalted and then wounds another one, and then the second thing pops an Exalted and then wounds another thing, and then the third one pops an Exalted and then pops the last one because they had 2 wounds. It's like, that's a unit of Exalted gone. It took me 330 points, but I'm pretty sure that's not too far off of what like an Exalted 8-bound unit cost, and now you just have maybe a character floating in the wind. So it wasn't too bad. Custodes was the whole game. For sure thought I was losing. I ended up winning by 2. So I was like, oh, okay. But the Wardens, -1 to wound, -1 to damage, 4-up feel no pain, 4-up invuln. Like, okay. But I really do like this list with the Grandmasters and the Dreadknights. You get a lot of flexibility by starting the Librarians in the air. And it is really cool if you take second at the bottom of 2, you can, or no, bottom of 2, top of 2, but bottom of your opponent's turn, you can, whatever the core strat to put a dude from Deep Strike into play on the end of your opponent's turn, or movement phase, I should say.
Rapid ingress.
Yeah, there we go. So it's, you can just 1 CP put a Dread down, a Grandmaster down, because I normally started the 3 Libbies and 2 Grandmasters in the air. The 3 Tech Marines, the other 2 Grandmasters on the board, and the normal Dreads.
Can't you only put 500 points up into Deep Strike? Or is it half your army?
Half your army.
Okay.
If you're doing Deep Strike. Normal reserves is 500.
Gotcha. Okay. There's been some confusion in various social media platforms for Grey Knight players about that, and I was pretty sure that was wrong, the way they were talking about it, but yeah. Cool. I'm glad that isn't correct.
Yep, so you can like rapid in a Grandmaster at the end of your opponent's movement phase, as long as they don't have Knights again. I've just played way too many Knights that towering terrifies me, because you can't hide.
Yeah,
but you just drop it in.
Explain towering again, because
so
I don't think a lot of people understand this keyword very well.
I'm gonna try and use,
including myself.
I'm gonna try and use some little objects to showcase here. So this is, let's just say this is a building, and let's pretend it has a window, right? Let's just say that this is the window. If I have a guy, he doesn't even have to be in the building. He can be outside the building and behind it, where we would be obscured for sure. But if a knight can see through the window to you, it ignores obscuring, so it'll shoot you right through that window, even if you're not inside of it. Or if it can see you over top of it, it can shoot you also, no matter what.
So if it can draw line of sight.
Yeah, pretty much.
True line of sight. It can see you immediately.
Line of sight, even through obscuring, as long as there are windows. So for instance, if you're just playing like most things, like a big L, so you can hide behind that, because generally it's tall enough that they can't tower over, and it's got enough space to where you can hide on the side, like in the middle on the sides. But if you have like a small L that's just like a normal rectangle, your Dreads, even if there's no windows on this thing and it couldn't see through, because your Dread is as tall as a ruin, the Knight will always just be able to shoot over and touch you. So the only place you can hide is behind your one big L. Hence why I try and start as much in the air, or if you go first, you need to advance a thing and use the 1 CP strat to not be shot at outside 12, haloed and soulfire. So that way, if you do that with a Grandmaster, unless you target a Grandmaster, in which case it's 1 CP.
Got it. Cool.
Yep. So it's Knights is just rough because towering, but if it's not towering, again, you wrap it in a dude behind a small L, so that way on your next turn, you just get to walk the Grandmaster out, so that way he's already close enough, and then you can just charge from there or shoot or do whatever you need to. The Tech Marines are really nice because they have the 6-inch +1 to hit, so you can generally start them further back on your home objective, and then just kind of have the dreads. I had them a little more out in front, so that way I can still target them for the +1s to hit all 3 times.
Is that still only ranged?
No, it is now +1 to hit.
Okay. So it is melee as well. I thought so. Just also pointing that out. That's very cool.
Yeah, so that puts your hammers back down to 3s on the turns that you do give them +1s to hit. So that's pretty good. And then the Tech Marines, after you pretty much send all the dreads forward, your Tech Marines are then there to either satisfy your cleanse secondary, which is really easy for you, or you just start picking up them at the end of your opponent's turn, so you can put them down for engage behind enemy lines or hold any of the middle objectives if you just need to do those.
Yeah, it's easy when they only have one base, 32mm base or whatever it is. So easy to just drop them on somebody.
But that list, it's like with 3 Grandmasters, Radiant Strike becomes 1 CP instead of 2s, so it's much more reasonable to use. Death from the Warp is still really good with it. You drop in, you got Assault, which doesn't really matter, but you get +1 to hit. So that gets around if you just have extra CP, that gets around not being in range of the Tech Marine. You drop into play, especially if you have Wrath with the +1 to charge. You come into play, you pop this, so now you have +1 to your hit rolls. You shoot with your side cannons, your flamers will auto hit, and then you hope to make the 8-inch charge where your hammers will still hit on 3s.
You've already thought a lot of this out, obviously.
When Friday hit, I printed out the sheets package, I printed out our codex, and then I stapled the different types of units together. So I did all the characters in a packet, all the not all the vehicles, but all of the actual vehicles like the tanks and such, and planes in a package, and then all of the other units in their own package.
And then you kind of just forgot about that one for a while.
Oh yeah, I did not.
One?
I never wanted to touch that packet until we get to the other list where we talk about why I have a Storm Raven.
Yeah, which is super dope.
Yeah, but man, I just didn't want it. But it is really cool, but it also has its downsides. But so one thing maybe but one thing that I am still unsure on is Mist of Deimos. It is an insane stratagem. But what happens if I use it on turns 3 or 4? I'm pretty sure that unit's dead, right?
Oh, because you mean 4 or 5?
If I have top of turn 3 and we are now in bottom of turn 3, and then I throw that unit into the air with mists, is it functionally dead? Because I don't think I can bring it in on turns 4 or 5.
I don't know, because I haven't run the Deep Strike specific rules. I mean, I know in 9th, in the way, raw, then yes. But it does say it. So it depends. If you're moving away, because you can move 6 inches. Actually, I'll go ahead and throw up the PDF here for anybody who's following along. So Mists of Deimos allows 1 Green Knight Psyker unit to either move 6 inches as if it was your movement phase, or it can be placed into strategic reserves, which on page 4 of that 18-page compendium or whatever, there is a stipulation in there that if you have this deep strike ability, then if you are told you can enter strategic reserves through either an army rule or a stratagem, that you can place them into deep strike instead. But it sounds like chat is saying that it's end of game now.
Okay.
In ninth,
that makes it not terrible.
Yeah, in ninth, you're absolutely right. It would be technically they're dead because the teleportarium has turned off or something. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's end of game now. I don't know, makes more sense to me anyway, especially with this army, because if not, teleport assault alone needs to kind of be changed to be to say like, you know, Grey Knights don't follow reinforcement death rules or whatever. So there's probably a better way of actually phrasing that, but it sounds like it's not a problem. So
no, that's nice. The prognosticated arrival, I never have a reason to use it because I always just want to charge, and since the restriction is can't charge, I never used it. But the other list, we will be able to talk about why this would be good.
So prognosticated arrival is the return of the 8th ed stratagem, which was dynamic insertion, which was a way sexier name than prognosticated arrival, but here we are.
Are you just saying you don't like the word prognosticated because it sounds...
No, I think it's fine. Yes, prognosticated sounds dirtier than dynamic insertion. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Let's see.
So in my game, I use Radiant Strike once. It made me sad. Yeah, I used Haloed in Soulfire twice. It was awesome, or once. It was awesome. Miss,
that one's good.
Miss was so good that it locked down my opponent's like brain for 2 or 3 minutes. Like, I wish I had I took a photo of his face, but he's basically like this, staring at the board, like all sad. His brow is all like furrowed and stuff, because I had a unit of Terminators with the Librarian in it on the middle objective between 2 ruins. He had 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts that had to move around to get lines of sight on them. And he wanted to kill me off of the objective. He realized if he moves any of those Redemptors at all to get a line, he's within 9 inches. He had no way to get a line without walking into 9. And he says, "You're just going to jump away, huh?" And I'm like, "You're damn right I'm going to jump away and not just give you a 400-point unit." So that was very funny. Especially being in the middle, it's 9 inches, so that's an 18-inch bubble where if they do anything, you can just leave, which is crazy.
Yep. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, it creates analysis paralysis for folks who aren't used to it. Maybe people will just learn to play around it, but Miss is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I think both the Custodes player and the Knights player chose to skip either their whole or a vast majority portion of their movement phase just so I couldn't miss the way so they could charge the unit. And I was like, you know what? I'm probably fine with it, in all honesty, because boy, them not moving. Well, Knights, it didn't really matter because they'll touch me from anywhere, but the Custodes not moving was pretty nice.
Yeah. I didn't use Death from the Warp even once. Honestly, I forgot it existed. And my list was primarily Terminators, so like shooting them. I don't like Storm Bolters kind of suck now.
Yep.
Especially, I played Dark Angels, and he brought a lot of Terminators. So like, you know, you're hitting on 3s, wounding on 5s for 1 damage. Like, who cares? You know, and they're gonna save on 2s. So the one hit, I guess the +1 to hit's pretty nice, but it is interesting. Oh yeah, it does say ranged weapons equipped have +1 to hit, not maybe,
is that the Death from the Warp? Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So what do we, I mean, generally speaking, what do you think of the stratagems we have, and then what do you think about only having 6 stratagems?
So as long as every army functionally only has the same number of stratagems, that's fine.
That's the idea, supposedly.
Yes, but I feel like ours, compared to a lot of other ones I've seen, aren't great. For example, I feel like our Radiant Strike should be 1 CP, only because other than the Venerable Dread, we don't have rerolls, whereas a lot of other armies have rerolls when it comes to their wound rolls. So devastating wounds, and especially like we take Eldar and Sisters with dice manipulation, we don't have dice manipulation. We don't have rerolls. So devastating wounds, 2 CP to naturally hope to roll 6s. That's pretty tough. That's why it's this. Even for 1 CP on a Grandmaster, this did not feel good at all unless I was against a vehicle or a machine to pop the once per battle round full rerolls, because then maybe I fish for 6s depending on what I'm against, because I just don't want to give you saves and fishing for 6s. Even if I whiff on, if I'm winning on 3s because you're a bigger thing, even if I have those confirmed hits, I might still fish for 6s just because I don't want you to get the saves. But even at 1 CP for the Grandmaster, it just didn't feel worth. I couldn't imagine actually spending 2 and feeling good about this unless it was a do or die moment.
Well, I want to tell you my Radiant Strike story, but first, John Callahan did go look up all of the previous core rules from the end of 9th and from now, and it does say that it's they have to be deployed before the end of the game.
Nice, thank you,
so
John.
So we're good. Or John, I'm sorry. Did I say Josh?
No, I think you said John.
Okay. Well, if I did, I'm sorry. Anyway, that's fantastic. That makes it so there is no weird Demos loophole. But I use Radiant Strike once in my game. I saved up to... my list in my game was like, I was trying a whole bunch of stuff. So I brought like a Vindicare, brought 1 NDK, and some crazy like leaders and stuff. I don't think it was a good list. I just wanted to try some stuff out. But the only time I used it was Draigo came down. +3 to charge out of Deep Streak, by the way, is fucking rad. So I ended up with a 10-inch charge, made it in on a Redemptor through a ruin so he couldn't overwatch me, got stuck in with everybody, popped Radiant Strike. It took the entire 10-man Terminator unit and Draigo with 2 CP, so this is a 605-point unit, and 2 CP to do exactly the number of wounds necessary to kill a Redemptor Dreadnought. A 225-point toughness 5 or toughness 10, obviously, like, big hulking vehicle, but that felt really bad. That felt awful. And it came down to 1 save. He failed 1 save, so it killed it like just enough. There was no overkill. There was nothing. It wasn't like they dove in there and smoked them. Even with the lethal hits, everything. Like, it did not. It did not play through the way that I wanted it to.
No, when 1D cannon can do as much damage as that whole unit, there's a problem.
Yeah. And yeah, I was counting the lethal hits, auto wounds and stuff as not as auto wounds of 6, and I don't know if that is correct or not. But yeah, that felt real bad. That was actually the worst.
Oh, lethal hits is the biggest non-bow with devastating wounds. It's like, dope, I just took X amount of dice out of the pool to hopefully roll 6s on. So that's it's like, true. Unless we had sustained hits, so they at least get added back in, but no.
Yeah.
No. But it's like...
So how would you change Radiant Strike to not... Like, if GW called you up and said, within reason, change Radiant Strike to be, strategically good, like an interesting choice, how would you change it?
So at a minimum, as is, the easiest knob to turn is dialing it back to 1 CP. Now, if you do that, what I want to know is why the Grandmaster... I want to know why the Grandmaster Dreads have the ability that strats only cost 1 to target them, period. Because there's only 2 strats that matters for.
That's true.
So it's like, okay, cool, thanks, I guess. But yeah, it's the easiest knob to turn is make it 1 CP. Mm-hmm. If that's not enough, let's say that they're like, no, we are hell-bent on keeping it 2 CP. What I would want them to do is change phase to turn and change melee to psychic weapons in the unit. Get devastating wounds until the end of the turn. Now for 2 CP, if my silencers with sustained hits, and my side cannons, and my swords or hammers have devastating wounds for the turn, that might be worth it. But right now, just melee weapons with no rerolls, not worth it.
Our psychic keyword doesn't help us at all.
So, real talk, it depends on when you want to get to that. Trust me, I have a lot of built-up tension because of how many non-bows they gave our book.
We should get into that in depth soon, but I do want to point out that everybody gave shit to the Honored Knight keyword in 9th because it effectively did nothing. It just did... It made all of those units less good and made people not want to bring in other than Draigo, who was amazing, so we brought him anyway. The psychic keyword legitimately harms us and gives us no benefit at all.
No. Yeah, I was thinking about that on the drive home, and I actually got upset about it, too. I was like, son of a bitch. Yeah. It literally only hurts us.
Yep.
That's wild.
And I think they added stuff like that to make it like, so like Radiant Strike, right? As it stands now, I think they added the psychic keyword so that it didn't work on Storm Bolters or Incinerators. But then you see some of the strats like Thousand Suns or Black Templar just get baked into their data sheets, and you realize, oh my god, this is such a, like, it's gonna make those games even harder.
Yeah, it's not good. It's like Death from the Warp as is. I think it's fine. I like it because I like it because if you wanted to play the Psy Cannon, or for some reason if you wanted to play the not Flamer Purgations, they come into play, they turn their things into assault, and they get +1 to hit. So the Psy Cannons are hitting on 3s. Cool. But it's right now with everything looking Flamer, there's almost no reason for us to use this stratagem.
Wait, do the Psych Cannons on 4 naturally?
No, we're not -1, and they're just heavy, so we normally have a 3, but if we move, they're a 4.
No, that's not how. No,
really?
So heavy. So first of all, it doesn't have the heavy.
They don't have, like,
I just pulled it up. But heavy works now where if you move with it, you don't get a -1, but if you stand still, you get a +1 to hit with it.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, so like heavy is backwards now.
Side cannons. Oh, that's a strike squad. But even then, okay, because if they stand still to get +1, well, that means that
if they had heavy, but they don't.
Oh, okay. But even then, so the Purgation squad hits on 3s with side cannons?
Yep.
Yeah, so if you use the strat on those, then it'll make them you hit on 2s.
Yeah. But the side cannon profile isn't that great. It's great into Marines, and otherwise
it's fine. They even for this they should have left it AP2. Because AP1 is AP nothing because everything has cover all the time ever. Yeah. And that's rough too because they had a really good chance because what they should have done is because we have nothing. Like the Incinerators ignore cover, which is nice, but I feel like in Astral Aim, Astral Aim should have been indirect and ignore cover. Because it's like we have someone physically seeing the unit, so we know they are confirmed there. You're not wildly shooting at something anymore. You're accurately shooting at something with Astral Aim, so it's like I feel like that should have also ignored cover, but oh well. They didn't do us any favor.
Yeah. Fair enough. Having these data sheets up have been super, super helpful.
Nice. I just scroll.
Yeah. One of the things, I mean, that -1 AP thing that you just brought up, that reminds me of the new Dreadnought weapons, the slight changes they did to all the Dreadnought weapons. So in 9th, right, we also suffered from no real high strength anti-vehicle shooting, but vehicles weren't toughness 14.
No.
They were, we'd run into a Redemptor, which was like T7 or something. So we were still wounding a lot of things on 3s unless they were big tanks, and then it was, it was 4s, maybe 5s, like into really big knights. But now we're just kind of plinking wounds off of stuff with strength 10 side cannon. And what I thought was interesting in my game is that the heavy incinerator is now 18-inch range.
Mm-hmm.
Which clearly Games Workshop only recently made this buff, because last night I was watching a Vanguard Tactics bat report of Grey Knights versus Thousand Suns. And they had the actual index cards, like the physical ones from whatever, like from Games Workshop, the like cardboard ones. And the side cannon on the Dreadknight was still strength 8, and the incinerator was still range 12. So like they've clearly done some buffs very recently between whenever those cards were printed and whenever we got our index. And I found that very interesting.
There's a lot of spelling mistakes, and by spelling mistakes, there's not actually spelling mistakes, but they're spelling mistakes. Like let's say once per turn on the Surge of Wrath for the Grandmaster.
Yeah,
it doesn't need to be battle round.
No, I think that's a straight mistake.
Now, let it be once per battle round, but let every Grandmaster get to do it. There's only 3 of these that exist in any list ever at any given time. And if I'm engaged with all 3 into a vehicle or monster at one time, I probably earned the right to be there. So it's like, come on, you don't need to do all that. And why doesn't he advance in charge? Tell me, what about a grand? Like, did the Grand Master forget how to run, but the other ones didn't? I don't get it.
He's busy psychically telling everybody where to be. I don't know, man. I didn't make this decision.
He needs to psychically tell himself where to be.
Why is the Grand Master hitting on 3s?
Yeah, right? Yeah, somebody, whoever was in charge of Grey Knights, copy and pasted and forgot to change a couple of things, because he should not hit on 3s. He should be on 2s. I don't know why they went D6 plus 1 on hammers. Give me back D3 plus 3. I'm fine with it. That's fine. This is strictly worse. I'm so sad.
John has an interesting point. Purifiers get +1 to hit and +1 to wound after. No, I think they get +1 to wound after they lose half of the squad. Yep. But they do get +1 to hit as soon as they lose 1 model, which is pretty interesting. Yes, and in a 10-man you can get 4 special weapons, which is absolutely true. I'm also kind of surprised. Like, the Incinerator is a good profile. I'm surprised that Purifiers didn't get some buffs specifically to Incinerators. You know, like, if they all fire at the same target, they get 18-inch range. Or if they all fire at the same target, they reroll, wound rolls of 1 or something. And those are completely off of the top of my head. Those are not well thought out. It's just, I'm just surprised to see that we didn't get that.
No, I mean, it's, since we are forced to take a Dread Fist on every Dreadknight, why don't we have Twin Linked when we take the second fist? Like, you give me Twin Linked Dread Fists, maybe I take 2 Dread Fists. It gives you a reason to. But I don't understand why they didn't do that one either.
Well, it actually says this model's Dread Fists can be replaced with one of the following. So you don't have a...
Oh, so they even took away this... Because the first one, I thought you still had it, right?
I think in 8th... In 8th, I think you always had 1 Dread Fist. And then you could go for 2. And then you got +1 attack.
Mm.
In 9th, I think they took that all away. It was, if you take a melee weapon, you didn't use the Dread Fist's melee profile at all. Unless you only had Dread Fists. And then,
wild.
Yeah. So...
They should still be Twin Linked.
At
1 damage, AP 1, like, what's the harm? It's only 1 more attack. So it's like... crazy.
Well, I think it's funny that in 9th, the Dread Fists were strength 12, minus 2 AP, 2 damage. Still, almost no one took them unless you're like, all right, I have to squeeze in this 15 points. I'm not going to, and I'll just use this 1 Dreadknight just as a gun platform. The melee profile was way better than it is now, and people still didn't take it. Oh, did you, by the way, try Tank Shock?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, 16 die Tank Shock.
Yeah,
a lot of Tank Shock.
16d6. If you have a Dreadknight with a hammer, they are strength 14. If you Tank Shock states that if the vehicle making the charge has a melee weapon with a strength higher than, not double or whatever, just higher than the toughness of the unit they are charging, you add 2 more. So you go from 14 to 16 d6, and law of averages says you're going to max that out on 5 or 6 mortal wounds. Generally, we all know dice swing one way or the other, and it does cap at 6, but that means you're going to get real close or at the cap nearly every single time if you bring the hammer, and I think that's pretty fun.
I do dislike how they do feel no pains. So it's like, let's say I Tank Shock, and let's say I magic 16 of 16 5-ups. Only 6 of those will ever count as going through. Yeah. And if you feel no pain all 6 of them, you're just good. And I'm like, man, what about all these other ones? Just let these do something. But the very first time I used Tank Shock yesterday was against a knight. Charged it, popped it, I rolled 1 5-up.
Oh no.
And that feels
bad.
I was like, damn, this feels bad. But every other time I used it, I was like, 6 mortals, please, 6 mortals, please.
That feels bad. I also feel like we are just throwing salt right now. Like we're pouring salt everywhere. Like eat up, brothers. This is a Domino's pizza. This has so much salt on it.
I mean, so the real talk though, this is what I'd want to talk about, because when Grey Knights were spoiled, I was like, I'm not a fan. I even told you and Rick, you and Derek, I was like, I'm not a fan.
It's really, so close.
You're both just so handsome. It's just hard to separate you. But I was like, I'm not feeling it. And now Art of War puts out their first video, and they put them at S tier, and now they put out their actual video, and they're like, well, JK guys, they're not S tier.
The S tier video, they did that, and they, that was a video just on army rules, and they prefaced it with, we'll see what the points look like, and then we'll know where they're actually going to sit. And it turns out we are now, excellent transition, by the way, buddy. We are now god-awful expensive, which I'm totally against.
Shut up. Yeah, you are.
No, I mean, everyone wants cheaper units. That's fine. But like the army-wide 2-up, that felt really good when I played. Army-wide 2-up with cover is just bonkers. They're firing plasma redemptors at me, and I'm saving on fucking 5s. Like, it feels pretty good. I don't know. Actually,
you know what?
4s?
What I would like to do is, if you ever want to queue up a game of TTS,
3s. No,
I would like to play a game where, give me the 3-up save again, and give me the 9 points, and I bet I just decimate.
And when it matters,
yeah, that 3-up, the 2-up, I could not care less, because everything has cover all the time. So it's like, I'm still gonna be on against Redemptor. If you're on 5s, I'm still on 6s. That's fine. I'll take it. Chances are, that unit probably blinked anyway, or I'm hiding somewhere, or you can't shoot me outside 12. And it's like, the points are rough, dude. I sat down. I've made 9 lists. I have combed through. I almost know everything except the vehicles points values by heart. Last night I was like, what am I playing today? What am I playing today? What am I playing today? I went to bed thinking about points. I fell asleep mentally building a list. I woke up and I was like, I'm exhausted. I'm stupid. What am I doing? And then I was like, all right, we're just playing all these dreads because I at least want to have fun.
Stompy robots, go. I mean, we know partially, the points increase because it's an army-wide 2-up, right? That's approaching custodes. Obviously, our little dudes don't have an invul at all. But also, like you stated earlier, a game where AP went down so much from 9th, And then in a game where everybody now pretty much, I mean, the joke is you have to try really hard not to get cover in 10th. So more or less you're going to be getting cover every single time anybody ever fires at you, unless it's, you know, flamer or whatever. It does, you know, our survivability went up a lot, I think, which is good because now we're 27 points a model for basic power armor after we lost smite, you know, after we lost that extra punch, that offense. And then when toughness went up, you know, now we're trying to chip wounds on 6s a lot of the time because like storm bolters don't do anything.
Nope.
So I was surprised to see the points as high as they are. A Terminator costs as much as a base infantry custode, 45 points. That is,
and the custodes are just better.
They have better strat support for sure.
It's insane. Oh, they're nuts. Dude. Their strats are insane.
Yeah. So, I mean, would you like to see the points? Like, I mean, what, you want to see them come down 10%, 5%? Like,
so it's like, let's see. If I'm looking at so strike squads, they're 135 for 5. They used to be 120. So it's like, I'd like to see 125.
Well, okay.
So it's like,
weren't they down to 20? Weren't they the same price as an intercessor at the end of 9th?
Yeah, they are now they are now the price of an actually.
Yeah.
Interceptors were 130. These are now 5 points.
No, intercessor, like from normal Space Marines, were 20 points, and I think Strike Marines got down to, I think maybe they were 22. Maybe they got down to 22. I don't remember, but anyway.
But it's you were talking about, it's like our survivability went up because we lost smite. Now, let me tell you why I don't think that that's worth it. So if we just scroll, let's just scroll to our let's see. Let's go to strikes, because we're gonna end up talking about it anyway. So let's just talk about our most basic of unit.
Sure. All right, it's on the screen now.
Yep. So we have toughness 4 or movement 6. That didn't change. Toughness 4. That didn't change. 2-up save. Cool. So we're paying a 15-point tax on a 2-up save. 2 wounds didn't change. Leadership 6. That seems probably like fine. 2 OC. For a standard unit, again, that's probably fine.
Standard battle line troops are 2 OC, pretty much like.
Yep. So we go
game wide. So
yeah, it's like the incinerator. If they're going to increase it for the dreads, increase it for these. I think if you make it 18, leave everything the way it is. That's pretty good, because now we finally have something like the 611. I can't be upset, especially since it ignores cover. Ignoring cover is functionally 621. Yep. So if I think about this as a 621 flamers, our flamers are solid.
And don't forget that if you take them in a purgation squad and you teleport them onto a second floor of a ruin, they get 1 more AP.
True.
So functionally so minus like, 3 AP flamers.
Yeah. The silencers on these, not good. It's like the 501, that's never going to do a whole lot. It's like against other Marine units, you're going to wound them on 3s, but you only have 6 attacks. So it's like, not good. Side cannons, I don't think I would ever take them on these. Side cannons are just, again, they're just not, especially not with 3 shots at 812, because the 1 is functionally 0, so you're looking at 802. So that's going to give you the other Marines still like 3-up saves. Close combat weapon, it doesn't exist. Our force weapons. There's an argument that we paid some form of attacks in order to keep 622, because 622 is a sweet spot. We're wounding elves and guard small dudes on 2s, normal Marines on 3s, Terminators and Custode dudes that aren't Terminators for Custodes on 4s. AP2 is good. They're not getting the cover against that, so we're putting things on good things on 4-ups, bad things on 5-ups.
Terminators are T5 now, so we're still wounding them on 3s as well.
Oh, sorry. I'm thinking, like, in my mind, I'm thinking Custodes because they're 6, and then their Terminators are 7.
Yeah, well.
So it's like, I'm
not everybody's Custodes.
You're right. So it's like 622, I'll take it. But I don't like the thought of us having, quote unquote, maybe paying a tax just to keep these healthy. Sticky objectives. Sticky objectives, okay. That's, or actually, before we get to that, Scout 6, pregame 6-inch move. That's solid. Now, let me tell you why it's not solid. What happens if I strap that Brotherhood champion to it?
Yeah, you lose the Scout. That's true.
Nothing. How terrible is that? Non-bow.
I mean, for my Deathwatch players in chat right now, it's as terrible as taking a Spectrus kill team right now, because they lose. If you take infiltrators in a Spectrus kill team, you lose Omni Scramblers. If you take why else are you bringing infiltrators? If you take a Reaver in the Spectrus kill team, and this was true in 9th as well, you lose Terror Troops. Like, you lose all the cool things by like mixing and matching. So I think going back to like the mistakes, I think that's probably a mistake that they lost. You know, one of the cool things about the dedicated transports right now is if you have a scout move and you have a unit in it with a scout move, the Rhino also gets the scout move. So they've thought about this. You know, how do units interact with other units so that they can still be special? So you can stick a strike squad without a leader in it, or into a Rhino, and the Rhino gets Scout 6. But you're right. If you put a Brotherhood champion in, immediately you lose Scout. Just it's gone.
Yep.
Sucks.
And if the Brotherhood champion kept that Scout 6. I take strikes and champions. 100%. I take a 10-man units of sticky objective fight first, pre-game 6-inch move strikes. I'd be super happy, but it's
with sigil.
Yeah. So it's it's like as is. There are lists where I'm probably taking 1 to 2 strike squads. I don't know that I need more than that, because I can just touch an objective, walk off of it, go up into the air at the end of my opponent's turn, come down on another one, touch it, I got it. So it's like,
that's exactly what I did in my Dark Angels game. Is turn 1 I moved on to an objective. It was only a 5-man squad, but I still had the Bro champ on it. I forgot about the scout move, by the way, so I didn't use it anyway. But they advanced onto an objective. I popped not miss haloed on them, and then nobody could shoot. All those Redemptors are staring at them, and they couldn't do anything. Then on my next turn, I guess that was turn 2. On my next turn, I grabbed them, and I put them down elsewhere, and I got to hold on to that objective, which was very nice, super nice.
I do enjoy that, but it's like there are a lot of armies where it's like as soon as you leave the objective, they can touch it. So it's
yes,
I do like it, but
of course.
But against so it I feel like it'll be really good against not horde style armies. So against elite armies that don't have as many units, kind of like us, sticky objective's really good. But if you see a GSC or NIDS or guard, like anything that swarms, it's going to be sticky objectives is going to be a lot more irrelevant. But still good. Definitely not going to poop on it. But so it's like we have the pre-game 6-inch move, we have sticky objectives, and we have +1 to save. So our points went up 15 points per model, even though we don't do points per model anymore. But with that, so we lost.
Not 15. They went up 5. But still, that's a significant, right?
I thought strikes were, well, I still have battle scribe. I thought strikes were
strikes are 27 per model right now.
Oh.
It's 135 for a squad.
Yeah, but what was a squad of 5? 120?
I think they were down to, I think they were.
Oh, sorry, no, they're 100 points.
Yeah, they were down to 20 points a model. Yeah. So our points went up by
35 points a unit. That's nuts.
No. 27 per model. I see what you say. 135. I think you cut out there. Anyway. Yeah. It's neither here nor there. Our points went up substantially from the end of 9th to the beginning of 10th. You're absolutely right. I mean, what is that? Was that 14%?
Yeah, but it's not it's not that it went up. It's like if things go up, sure. But we lost. So let's just take an old strike squad that had Hammer Hand, Smite, the Brotherhood ability. That's 3 powers that they just always have. Now they've replaced it to where we have nothing special in our ranged or our melee that makes up for losing any psychic powers. We gained a pregame 6 movement, but other basic units have either infiltrate or pregame. And we gained sticky objective, which certain missions already give sticky objective. So if you take these and you roll into the sticky objective mission, it's irrelevant. But if we look at every other Space Marines troop, they all have a singular ability, and a lot of have a core ability. So we have a singular ability, sticky objective. We have 1 extra core ability. Deep Strike, sure, but that's like not the most uncommon. And then Scout 6. So we lost 3 psychic powers to gain no actual psychic. Our psychic is sticky objective, but we used to have objective control, which is almost as good in certain cases because you could snipe something. This doesn't allow you to snipe something. So it's our basic troops went up in points. They did not get better in shooting. They did not get better in melee. They only got worse in psychic, but they went up 1 durability. So if you look at, again, a normal Space Marine unit, they're going to look very similar, except we will still have like the better melee. But I think we lost far more than we gained across the board comparatively to most other armies. Clearly, there are armies that still got shafted, but I just feel like a lot of things weren't compensated as fairly as they probably should have or could have been.
So, how I'm going to ask you the same question I did with Radiant Strike. So, how would you make these guys worth 27 points per model in your eyes?
They need to have another psychic ability. Something. They need to have +1 more ability. Because it's like they lost the damage from Smite, and they didn't gain that any other way. They lost the rerolls from Hammer Hand. The army has no way to give that back except for the Venerable Dreadnought. We lost a Brotherhood power, which, let's just say that Sanctifying Ritual is their Brotherhood power or their Smite. So we're still down 2 effects. We gained Scout 6. We're down 1 effect. Give me the 1 more effect. Or give me something that's not just +1 to save. Give me, let them maybe be able to take something that gives them +1 OC. So that way, if they lose a battle shock, they still count as 1, kind of like our terms. I really like that ability. I think that that is a cool thing that you can have built in that doesn't cost us anything other than a Stormbolter. But I feel like we're just missing 1 more ability to make us worth it. Even if it is a Smite, make it like these guys don't have the range Smite attack. Give them a ranged Smite. Something. They have no devastating wounds at all, and we are a psychic army. And the only way we can do it is a 2 CP stratagem. That I'm just not a fan.
Which like now that you mention it, Radiant Strike is like interesting because some strats increase in cost, or at least did in 9th based on the size of the unit. So like Radiant Strike is 5 models or fewer, or sorry, 6 models or fewer now because a lot of squads are having leaders thrown in. It's 1 CP. If it's more than that, it's like 2 CP or whatever. That's I just thought about that, but I am very surprised to see our lack of ability to get devastating wounds. I think one of the things that folks were expecting was to have Nemesis Force weapons differ than normal Force weapons by the fact that they would just have devastating wounds. Like just base.
That would have been nice. That's probably what they should have done, because we had the Tide of Convergence, which is what I think devastating wounds should have been. And I really hope that for some reason they decide to just change the Oracle text of devastating wounds to 1 mortal in addition. Because let me tell you, changing the entire output to mortals is absurd, especially when an army that used to have a 5-up feel no pain to mortals at all time now has no way of getting that except for a librarian and Draigo. And that's an expensive tax just so my opponent can choose a unit that doesn't have that character attached to it with their mortals.
I was actually surprised by the devastating wounds change because it wasn't like, I thought they'd just be like, each unit caps out from the mortals caused by devastating wounds to like 6 or something, or 4 or 3 or 2 or whatever. Just throw a cap on there. And because, you know, Death Watch, we all know we all know those wombo combos, something like 90 mortal wounds in one shooting phase from 3 units or something, because they could abuse devastating wounds. I was just surprised to not see them cap it. Like, your Sternguard veteran unit got to fire twice, but it only got to do 6 mortal wounds to like the first one, right? Not 30, or not 15 and then another 15 or whatever it was. And that could have worked across the whole game and toned down a lot of what we're seeing from, like, you know, right now there are Space Marine lists out there, you know, Ultramarines or Death Watch or pretty much anything, who just bring 3 Redemptors and 3 Gladiator Reapers, and they're just fishing for devastating wounds, and a Gladiator Reaper can put out a shitload of devastating wounds. But if they said, you know, it can only do 4 a shooting phase, it's still good. That's still a lot of mortal wounds, but it's not, you know, it's not 18 or something. I don't know what it is. Well, I don't know what it actually averages out to, but it's not an insignificant amount. So
no, it's give or take 1 billion.
Yeah. And because it triggers off of 6s to wound, which are already going to wound everything in the game anyway, like, you don't even care what you're firing it at. You don't. You're like Knight, Stompa, like a whole bunch of grots. You don't care. It's the same to you. You want those 6s.
Well, it's like the interaction between like critical hits and devastating wounds. It's like critical hits. Like if some, I'm trying to remember, we were talking about it earlier, where it's if you have 5s or critical hits, then the critical hits will count as 6s for the devastating wounds.
Yeah.
So it's like if you just have devastating wounds on like your 5s and 6s for criticals, like that's nuts. And it's like that there's not a whole lot you can do about it.
I think it's the anti, right? It's the anti keyword or whatever. So like Deathwatch had anti-infantry 2+ on the Hellfire rounds. That was what made it so ridiculous. And then they could also get devastating wounds, you know. So I do want to remind everybody, and I've meant to do this like 4 times. We do this live so you guys can interact with us. So please throw your questions in chat. We will answer them if we can. If not, we'll probably make a lame comment and try to be funny. But like we do this live for a reason. Otherwise, I would just record it and then heavily edit it. But this is more fun, I think.
Okay. So you've been asking me a lot of questions. I want to ask you what you think of the enhancements.
Oh, the enhancements? I think all but 1 are good, and I think 1 isn't good because they just missed it. I can't remember. Okay, here they are. They're on the screen right now. First into the fray, I took this one in my game because it changes when the unit can come out of Deep Strike. You can come into Deep Strike turn 1 with Rapid Ingress on your opponent's turn. If you go second, it's ridiculous. That is so good. So I don't see. There's also a question about like, does the transport get Deep Strike? We'll get a fact about that. I don't think so, because the person in the fraying Land Raider is just incredible. No. Like that's a meme list there.
When it references transport, tanks do not have the deep strike or reserve ability. Right. They are referring to the flyers.
Got it. Okay. So you can deep strike a Storm Raven.
If you have first of the fray inside of that Storm Raven's coming into play.
Nice. And I bet you that's part of why that's in your next list that we're gonna speak about. So first, into the fray, I like it. It's worth, what is it, 20 points or something? It's not that, but
35. It's the
oh,
most expensive
is this the
one.
most expensive one? Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, I don't know. It's that's probably too expensive, but it is very good. I like it. It's fun. Sigil of Exodus. If you played Grey Knights in 9th or played against them in 9th, you saw this. It's the exact same thing. There's no difference. It's just you pay points for it now. It can go on any leader. It's not a relic. It's great. I don't really see. I can see not taking first into the fray in a list unless you build for it. I can't see not taking Exigence on something somewhere all the time in every list. It's so good. Movement shenanigans are great. This entire army does that. Movement shenanigans in your opponent's turn are very rare in the game, and we got to keep ours from 9th. So it's fantastic. The Liber, the book, this is just a swing and a miss unless you put it on a Grandmaster Dreadknight. Because what a lot of people are missing, they see +1 to wound and they lose their minds and they think that's the whole unit. No, it is only the model, which is the bearer. So if you put this on a bro champ in your fight first 10-man strike squad, they don't all get +1 to wound. It's just the bro champ that gets it. And then inescapable ref, like +1 to charge rolls. That swings deep strike math. Deep strike charge math a lot. I don't have my graph up right now, but it brings it from like 50% with a reroll up to almost 70% with a reroll or something. It changes it a lot. So I think the enhancements are good. First into the fray is probably a little too expensive, but this is my show, so I'm glad that you got to ask me a question. But I am also curious as to what you think about them.
First of the fray is it can be very powerful. I'm not saying that it is, but it probably is. But it definitely can be. Being able to bring something in on turn 1 is pretty dope. I'll just like talk about I'll just talk about like why I think it's good and what I think it's good with.
Sure.
So this one, first of the fray, unfortunately, we can't slap it on any epics. So Crow can't get it, Draigo can't get it.
That's
none of
probably
the like
fair.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if Draigo could get it, that'd be nuts. Because then I come in on turn 1, all I need is a 6. And it's like I'll reroll for a 6. That's I'm gonna whiff it the first time. I'll get it the second time. It'll cost me a CP.
At first, people were like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna put Inescapable Wrath on Draigo. I need a 5 out of Deep Strike." It's like you guys missed the part where you can't do that, right?
Yeah, you gotta. Unfortunately, we have to read the core rulebook. But I do like it on things such as maybe a Venerable Dreadnought. Actually, no, he's not a character, but I could take 3. So it's like, actually, in my list, this can't be taken, which is why it's not actually in my list. Because I can't put it on Crow, I can't put it on the Venerable, and there's nothing else for me to put it on to. Ooh, John just sent something about a Storm Raven. Oh, he sent a list.
Yeah, it is a list. It just didn't get formatted very well. Oh, he deleted it.
Oh, no.
It'll be back. We can always reformat that too, man. So don't worry about it.
No, but it's like, so first the fray is fine. I don't know, like real talk, I don't know what I'm taking it on. If I were going to take it on something, I actually don't think I would mind it on maybe a bro champ in a 10-man purgation. But even then, that doesn't feel like the best. So it's like, most of the times, this is 35 points for me to just look at it. Because I don't know what I want to put it on. But if I have the points, I do like it on a Grandmaster Dread. Bring it in and hide it again on your opponent's into your opponent's move phase on turn 1. And then you just get to walk out around a corner, charge something, and then hopefully maybe kill something.
Yeah, it's a... Yeah, I think it's very good on, like you said, a Grandmaster Dreadnought.
Yep.
Especially if you end up going second. Like, it's just for 1 CP, you've effectively done what Sigil of Exigence does if they're not paying attention.
Yep, pretty much.
And except you're doing it on turn 1 where they haven't rushed out across the whole board yet and screened you out, you know? So first into the fray is situationally super good, which also I'd like to point out is interesting for enhancements. I mean, there's something to be said competitively when one is always good and you should always take it, but it is also very interesting sometimes when it is like, this is situationally very good, you know?
Sigil, yeah, you said it about Sigil. You just play it every time. It's super good. I'm always up in the air on what I want to put it on, especially just with the dread list that I was playing. I slapped it on a Libby because I did want to be able to drop a librarian in on somebody's backfield to maybe get some mortals off, and then if they try and target it, he just kind of poofs out because he is less durable than a grandmaster. So I was like, you know what, that's fine. Even though he's got a 4-up, only Derek, 5 wounds.
Derek was actually doing that at the end of 9th. He was sticking it on the Mortal Wounds Libby. Then being very aggressive with the Mortal Wounds Libby. And then inevitably someone would be like, I'm going to fire a last cannon at that guy. And he'd be like, cool. Whoop.
Yeah. Dominia. It's just say Grey Knight. Each time models in this unit, give it +1 to wound. It's like, well, actually, unfortunately they can't. Because that would be a 20-point upgrade to turn any non-epic
10-man paladins
into a chaplain. Now it's like chaplains I like it because +1 to wound for the unit. Now that's a spicy 90 points that I do enjoy, and that's what I wish Dom was. But Dom would be a 20-point chaplain instead of a 90-point chaplain. One thing I would like to do is this would be good on a Brotherhood champion, but what I want out of the Brotherhood champion is I just want him to also have fight first, even if he's not leading a unit, because then I might actually take 1 or 2 of these as standalones that are character killers.
Well, while we're on this topic, do you want to explain to our viewers why fight first is so ridiculous now in 10th? Because it is very different than it was in 9th.
Because you get to fight first. I think that might be too short and sweet, but it's a house now.
So to put the order of operations into perspective, in 9th it was charging units go first. Then it was, there was some stupid like a hierarchy, and it was very confusing, and there was a whole post on Warhammer community trying to make it make sense. It still didn't, whatever. Now, if you charge, you get fight first. The thing is, if somebody already has fight first, like a Brotherhood champion, on the first activation goes to the player whose turn it is not. So if you have a whole bunch of, I don't know, what are the murderous melee Termagant things? The non-firing ones? Anyway, the Hormagaunts go in on you, on your Strike Marines, with your Brochamp there. They don't get to fight first because they charged. They have fight first, but so does the unit that they charged, and it is not the charging unit's player's turn. It is your turn. You get to fight first. You are like bracing to be struck or whatever, and you get to fight first. So I've seen lists out there on the Grey Knight, which are also very memey, but they bring 3 big groups of 10-man strikes, all led by a Brotherhood champion, and now you have a significant amount of your army that is effectively unchargeable. Unless you want to get stabbed to death.
John brought up a good point that for some reason I thought that they were linked to the ability. But he says that the Brotherhood champion has the fights first ability keyword, and then it's if this model is leading a unit, models in that unit have the fight first. So he does still fight first. So I could, in theory, take this with the Dom 105 point +1 to wound anti-character because he does reroll the hit and wound.
But he
so
doesn't get lone operative, right? So
no, and that's
gotta be real cagey because he's not tanky.
No, he's not. Yeah. At least he has a 4-up invuln.
That's true. He is a character. So he's as tanky as a Terminator, I guess, in that case. He might as well be in Terminator armor. Yeah. So what about Inescapable Wrath?
Inescapable Wrath, I do enjoy. I really enjoy dropping it putting it on a Grandmaster, dropping it in, and hoping to get the 8.
The 8 instead of the 9?
Yep. Because then if I don't, every time I whiffed, and let me tell you, most of the times I still whiffed, and he's just kind of sitting there, but I planned on whiffing, so he was the only thing in danger, so then when my opponent moves, I just missed him again, and then next turn I just drop him in and try again, and then whiff, and then throw him in the air, and then try again. Eventually we got there.
That is actually a fantastic thing to bring up, because we could just be like, oh, I'll just teleport assault and try again. Oh, I'll just teleport assault and try again.
Maybe next time.
That's pretty funny.
But yeah, Inescapable Wrath, I like it. I do enjoy it. Again, I was talking up the Chaplain a little earlier. I do like the Chaplain with Inescapable Wrath because now we got +1 to charge and +1 to wound, and I feel like that's a pretty solid combination on some Terminators.
Yeah.
It's like the Chaplain, like 90 points. 90 points, not actually a lot of points for like a decent character tax. I don't remember like what else he does. Let me scroll. There he is. Okay. -1 to battle shock test for your opponent.
Yeah, which is not.
It's fine.
It's okay. I haven't seen a game. I mean, I've played one game, so whatever. But I also haven't seen a bunch of battle reports yet. I mean, not that I've watched a lot of those either. But anyway, I haven't seen yet where battle shock has mattered. Like people just pass, it seems like, but but Space Marines are the poster boys of 40k, and I've been watching a lot of, watching bat reps that have Space Marines in them, usually just because that's who's in them, that's who they're trying to put out bat reps for the largest community of people possible, so that you generally have a Space Marine chapter in them. So I don't know. I haven't seen a low leadership army really take it. So.
But I mean, that's the enhancements. So then after that, it just comes down to, so it's like talked about the strats, the enhancements, our generic abilities. Let's see, I guess it comes down to like what next would just be characters. It's like what characters do we think are good and what characters do we think are bad.
So I'm going to say something a little spicy, if you will.
I like spice.
Draigo is good. I like playing him. I enjoy when he gets stuck in and beats somebody to death, because that's what he does. For 155 points, he is a very large horse pill to swallow. Or a suppository, whichever way you want to think of it. That's a lot. Trajan Valoris is not 155 points. I realize he is 10 points less than he was in 9th, but 155 is a lot.
It is. And 155 is what Draigo ended 9th at.
Yeah.
After the drop, so it's like...
That's fair.
I mean, he lost the give the man the 3-up invuln back, right? I think I like him fine if he's got the 3-up invuln back, because it's like, that's going to be a tanky Terminator unit, because it's like I'll take a couple of 3-up invulns on Draigo instead. But again, he has no extra core abilities.
Yes,
he has the 4-up feel no pain against mortals, which is our only actual mortals feel no pain.
Yep, not just psychic attacks, an actual mortal. I think he's actually. So, hot take. I think you're going to bring him more for that than the once a game. The deep strike thing is very, very good. As John is bringing up, it's very good. However, because our points are so high, that kind of thing is really good on like a shock assault unit, like a 10-man Terminator blob. A 10-man Paladin blob is what you want to be coming out of Deep Strike, and with a reroll basically having a like guaranteed charge. The problem is we're so expensive and we have so few units on the board that to actually complete the mission, you take 5 mans. It's the way, like, competitively speaking, I'm thinking if you're going heavy infantry, because again, I had a 10-man Terminator blob with lethal strike, with radiant strike, lethal hits from Hammerhand and radiant strike, led by Draigo, and they barely managed to kill a Redemptor Dreadnought. That is a 605 point unit, again, with 2 CP, barely managing to kill a thing. So even our assault units don't feel very assaulty.
Yep.
So to me, Draigo's very expensive. I'd rather take a 5-man for his 155 points. I could drop a Chaplain in there or Voldus for -1 to hit. And then I can use my other points on things like there are some Agents of the Imperium that I think are pretty interesting. There's that 35 point squad. They have OC, they have advance and do an action. They're a 10-man unit, so they're great for screening. Like those are kind of tech choices I'm looking at right now. And Draigo is just really, really god-awful expensive. And I don't think we're going to have a lot of, unless the meta changes horrifically, I don't think we're going to have a lot of time where dropping a 10-man Paladin blob in to kill one unit or whatever is really a thing. You're going to want 2 5-mans instead.
They're just so expensive. Like Paladins, 10, but it's like 510 for 10 of them.
Yeah.
With Draigo
expensive.
Is 665.
No, it's bonkers.
A third of your army, and it's like
yeah.
So it's like if Paladins had 5 attacks each instead of 4, you know what? I might be in.
They are hitting on 2s.
Yeah, but
and -1 to wound a T5 unit is actually like kind of a dick move.
I mean, yeah, it's like, okay, good. GG strength 4 or lower, you're on 6s.
No,
but it's like
it does specifically state it has to be toughness higher than theirs, or sorry, strength higher than their toughness.
Oh, strength higher than.
So
their toughness.
Stormbolters are still on 5s because.
Oh, so this is the semi.
Yeah,
this is like Wardens for Custodes.
It's mini transhuman, effectively. Like they're only ever going to be wounded on 3s.
That's fair.
Even if they're shot by a volcano cannon, like they're going to be wounded on 3s.
Yeah, but it's like I think you just give them 5 attacks apiece, and then like what, just for testing sakes, everything we're doing right now is for fun anyway.
Yeah,
I will try it, but it's like, man, I wouldn't mind 665 with 5 attacks each, so that's 50 attacks plus Draigo. Then if we're hitting on 2s at 622 with devastating wounds, now we might be talking, because that sounds terrifying. But it's like when a 10-man right now barely takes out a Redemptor with all of the things, it's tough.
Don't forget, and as Jonah pointed out, John's the MVP of this stream. It's not me and it's not Quinn. It's John. 5 special weapons in a 10-man Paladin blob, because they can take 4 and then they can take an Ancient, which can also take 1. So you can actually have 5 Flamers in a 10-man Paladin blob come out of Deep Strike and just, I don't know, annihilate anything with 5d6, strength 6, -1, 1 AP, ignoring cover, auto hitting.
Yeah, and then you're gonna roll like 1s and 2s on your flamer shots, and they're just gonna be like,
yeah. The dice can always swing one way or the other. But I mean, and then remember, if on their turn they're still alive, if they turn to move at all, you Overwatch with that unit.
True.
You bake them again.
Well, what I like is you can, I believe you can stack the Overwatch and Mists.
Oh, yeah, you probably could. You just Overwatch first and then you miss.
Yep. You Overwatch and run away.
It does say when it ends their movement.
So does Overwatch.
Okay.
So I believe in the core book, one of my business partners that was reading, he's like, hey, this game has the stack now, which is like it's a magic term where when you have two things that happen at the same time frame that you can interact with, you may choose how those abilities are stacked. So it's like until we get clarification, because GW, which there was a rule today that I learned about that isn't actually written down, but it's in the director's cut. But it sounds like you should be able to functionally fire and fade for 2 CP.
So you can put sigil on them too.
Yeah.
So if they just shoot
not with Draigo.
No. But not with Draigo. But you bring like a Grandmaster. So now, which we haven't gotten to their data sheet yet, but I think the Grandmaster has a very interesting ability that I want to know a lot more about, because I have some questions about some interactions.
Scrolling up.
But you give them the sigil or something. So then if they don't move to trigger miss, you still just sigil. You just leave.
Yeah. It's like, okay, well, it's like if they charge you, then you can't do anything if they stand still and charge. But yeah, it's like, okay, it's like, shoot me, I leave. Move around me, I leave.
You can still Overwatch at the end of the charge phase, can't you? Is it only the movement phase now? I thought it was or charge.
No, it is or charge, yeah. Sorry, I thought you were saying it's like if they don't like move around you, then you could still sigil. But I was saying if they just choose not to move, they can still charge you, and then you can still fire Overwatch.
I was thinking like they don't want to get Overwatch and they don't want to fire off mist, so instead they just shoot. And then you can still just leave. Or if they don't shoot and they charge, you still just Overwatch. Like, wow, that's actually pretty. I mean, it's memey and it is expensive, as you know. But it is potentially, and then like it kind of feels weird to put sigil on a unit that is already pretty tanky. Because again, AP is down. They have -1 to be wounded on heavy weapons. Like, it already feels kind of like, why then make them, like, you want it on your fragile units, especially ones that are fragile and have sticky objectives, right? Like, that sounds like a better thing to put that on. But it is very memey to think about the wombo combos that you could do.
Yeah, it's like, I do like the Grandmaster himself. I do, I like I'm going to ignore any and all modifiers. That's pretty solid.
All right.
I haven't seen anything that modifies.
We'll scroll down to him. Yeah, we'll scroll down to him. So,
but the Master Strategist, I mean, a free Radiant Strike? Now, free Radiant Strike, even though it's like still not the greatest, I'll take 0 CP Devastating Wounds, because in reality, that's what we thought we were going to get anyway. So it's like, let me just enjoy playing with the army the way we thought we were going to be able to play with the army.
Aaron, I'm always happy to teach, man. Like, that's what this whole thing is about. I started this channel because really good players would go on a podcast, be asked one question and spoken to for 5 minutes, and then they're out of there. And it's like, no, I want to talk to them for 15 minutes just about their first HQ choice. Come back here.
True.
So the Grandmaster's on the screen. I want to know, so it looks like it changes modifiers, and I think this answers most of my questions, but I know you wanted to go off on a tangent about how the psychic keyword hurts us. I've watched 2 different bat reps of Grey Knights in 2000 Suns lately. They have a 1 CP stratagem called Psychic Dominion, which is basically just, it should be renamed Fuck Grey Knights, because what it is all psychic weapons attacking that unit gain the hazardous keyword.
Yeah.
And the unit being attacked gains a 4-up Feel No Pain towards damage done to them by psychic weapons. Our melee is all psychic unless you want to run in there and do the normal close combat weapon, which is dumb.
What do you mean? It's a melee Stormbolter, so it's clearly the most consistent weapon in the game.
Super good. So, I was wondering because one of these bat reps I watched, it was Stefan, by the way, from One Last Blade. You guys ought to go watch it if you haven't. I was wondering because I was like, he had a Grandmaster in that unit. I was like, do they take the hazardous keyword? And then I reread this ability, and it sounds like they do, because it's not a modifier like a plus or minus, but it was one of those things that got me thinking about this unit more. And things like, so if you go into a Redemptor with a unit that has 2 damage, let's say, which is every melee we have, and they make you -1 damage. This is what made it so hard to kill that Redemptor with that 10-man Terminator blob, is they are literally having our damage output. Every time you get you squeak a wound through, you know, because of course they popped Armor of Contempt and stuff, so you're already down to 1 AP and not 2. They're having your damage. So all those extra points we spend for our units to minus it, this guy gets around that. You can't subtract 1 from their damage characteristic because he says you can't. You can't subtract 1 from their AP characteristic because he says you can't. Like, that is amazing. Charging stuff too, especially in this army with us moving around so much and like really needing those 8 or 9 inch deep strike, 8 with the enhancement, needing those to go off, and then running into a Tanglefoot grenade, and then just being like, I don't care. I don't care that you made that now a 10-inch charge. It isn't. It's still an 8-inch. Thank you very much, because I'm a Grandmaster and I say so. And I think that is very cool. And you can take three of these guys if you wanted to. I don't recommend it, but you could.
Do you think it's asking too much for them to give the Paladins the free apothecary upgrade?
So I noticed they're doing a lot of stuff where they're allowing, like, they're trying to make the box, like the box is the unit, right? For those of you who have built a Grey Knight Terminator squad ever, it's also a Grey Knight Paladin squad, and it has an apothecary, and I could see them adding it back in there just because it's in the box. But they are already -1 to wound, and you're gonna bring 1 back for free in your command phase every time. It's pretty crazy. Thanks for swinging by, John. You're the MVP. Sleep tight, brother.
It's like, I want to like the Paladins, because it's like, real talk, I could see, man, the only reason I don't want to take the Paladins over the terms is because of the free model per turn. That's so big. But -1 to wound is also really big.
Also, can I just tell you how rude 3 OC Terminators are? Because I snagged an objective in my game against Dark Angels by towing in 2 Terminators.
Why are Paladins statically only 1?
I don't know. Well, because they aren't battle lines. So historically, they aren't our troops, which aren't the ones that hold down objectives. I mean, the way they explained this before on Warhammer Community was stuff like in a vanilla Space Marine chapter, your Terminators have 1 OC because they're the shock troops. They go in and knock someone off of an objective, and then your battle line come up and hold it. So in Grey Knights, Terminators and Strikes have historically been our troops, our battle line. And the fact that we got the banner on our Terminators to give them 3 OC natively is pretty nuts.
Yeah. Because
a 10-man with Draigo is now, 31 OC. Actually, I guess 32. I'd have to read, because Draigo is now part of the squad. So 32 if you have a 10-man, and then good luck even towing a model in when there's that many guys on an objective marker, like it's only this big. So
John, I think I'm trying to make my way to the ATL Open.
I will not, because that's the one in Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
Georgia's pretty far from Oregon, and And the summer is always real rough for me. Like, I'm going to a tournament at the beginning of July, and then I don't think I'll be hitting up another tournament till like September or October, just because I got family reunion, other obligations, blah, 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 blah. So I won't be doing pretty much anything all summer. Except
I forgot to grab my LVO ticket when they went live, so now they're all sold out, so I gotta wait for someone to just be like, I can't make it, buy my ticket, and then I'll buy their ticket.
Yeah. I need to talk to my wife about. Yeah, that's a whole thing, because I'm going to be a brand new dad with a 3-month-old by the time LVO hits, but I have family in Vegas.
Okay.
So I think I might be able to sneak away for 3 days and then hang out for a week with my family. But that's a whole other thing. No one came to this stream to listen to me talk about how I'm going to maybe finagle my way into LVO.
Joke's on you. That's the actual reason I said I'd join.
Aw. Thanks, man.
Yeah, anytime. All right, so then, let's see, what do we talked about the Grandmaster? So we talked about Draigo. So who was after Draigo?
Before, it is the man, the myth, the legend, Voldus. But I do want to bring up one last thing about the Grandmaster. Master Strategist is exactly like Rights of War, and you brought this up earlier. Every Space Marine captain has Rights of War. It is phrased exactly the same way as Master Strategist, except it says once per battle round for Rights of War, and it says once per battle for the Grandmaster. I am convinced that that is a typo, that they missed the word round in there, but it does highly affect how good he is. Like, it makes it around 20% is good. I would argue.
Give or take.
Give or take. So the next guy is Voldus. He can attach to Paladin and Terminator squads. He gives the -1 to be hit all the time. Melee, ranged, he doesn't care. -1 to hit. Unless you go into another Grey Knight squad with a Grandmaster in it, and then he doesn't care about Draigo or the Paladins, but whatever. That is very hilarious to think about. A squad that is -1 to hit and -1 to be wounded effectively anytime it matters. That's crazy. He's also the same price as a normal Grandmaster. He's like 115, I think. A normal Grandmaster is 115. He also has bask in that glory, by the way, of that melee attack profile, because that is what a souped up Nemesis Force Hammer should look like. But here we are. We don't get those now, unless you're Voldus. Or Corax? Kovex? Cortez. I got it. I got there. Anyway. This is great. Subtract 1 from the hit roll all the time. Melee, range, he doesn't matter. And then you get to do you get to do engagement range, sort of like mini Vortex of Doom that is like a mega Vortex of Doom if you're a demon. So, it's not terrible, but it's not great.
Yeah. Well, it's like, isn't
Kotias? He's right. I almost got
Isn't Voldus the Psyker in Grey Knights?
No,
so it's like
he's the chief librarian or whatever.
You're telling me this man doesn't have a feel no pain to mortal wounds?
Yeah, even though I'm pretty sure in one of the books he legitimately pulled a planet from the warp or into the warp. I can't remember which. With his mind.
So so it's like I don't understand. He doesn't offer he doesn't offer anything. It's like maybe I play him with Paladins. Maybe I'm now -1 to hit, -1 to wound, and I'm still ineffective all game, but I'm -1 to hit, -1 to wound ineffective. But
I mean that melee profile slaps unless you're going into 1,000 Suns.
Yep. Well, it's I did learn Hazardous is a little not as bad as I thought.
No, they did nerf it, but it's still...
I thought we just took, because it's like, what? I thought we just took flat 3 on a 1. Now, if we roll a 1, we have to roll a 1. And it's like, okay, good.
Yeah. But I would like to also point out that this hammer hits harder than the Dreadknight's sword. Because they nerfed the shit out of the sword. I'm very mad about it. Well, I'm not very mad. I'm just like rolling my eyes like, oh, Games Workshop, you know, like, oh, you poke them on the nose.
Is it the people that made 9th are the same people that made 10th overall? So it's like, there's just so many things that it's like, I thought you guys weren't trying to do this, or you were trying to do this.
So the rumor I had heard was basically they stopped, after AOS, they got out all of their battle tomes, because they're not codexes there, they're battle tomes. They effectively took the whole rules writing team from AOS and said, work on 10th, please. Help. And so we can already see a ton. I mean, Battle Shock is straight from AOS. Like, we can see a lot of their inspiration there, which I don't think is good or bad. It just is. But there are definitely things that have been missed. I think we all know that. We're also seeing the outcome of, because a whole bunch of people were complete dickbags and leaked stuff when they were playtesters, we're seeing the outcome of them no longer having playtesters that aren't internal. A lot of what we're seeing here could have been fixed and caught by anybody, you know, like the Deathwatch Mortal Wounds thing. I think the index was up for like 20 minutes before someone found that. So, little aside there.
I find it interesting that they decided to not just, I think it would have been cool if they had scattered Purifying Flame out a little bit more, because it's like, let's just read Grandmaster Voldus' little flavor text on his second data card.
Oh. Grandmaster of the Third Brotherhood, Eldrick Voldus wields immense psychic might with a humble purity. Demons burn and scatter before the purifying fire that pours from his huge demon hammer. The Malleus Argurum, I think that's right. Before he deftly swings it and crushes those that remain with a thunderous crash of pure empiric energies. I have to say it in an accent or I'll stutter. So
I understand.
That's what
that was great. I actually depending on how much you like to talk, I have a couple of audiobooks that I think that you'd be great to voice.
Excellent.
No, but it's like they even talk about his purifying fire. Then it's like, what? Give more things purifying flame, because it's like as we get to, because we talked about the Grandmaster, so then we have the Grandmaster Dreadnought, but we'll get to like purifying flame soon.
Yeah.
But it's like
with good old Crow, our boy, our homeboy.
But look what they did to our real boy.
Look what they did to our boy. Or my sweet boy, or whatever the actual line is.
My boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but it's like...
This data sheet threw me for a loop. Because like, I saw movement 8, I'm like, oh, that's one less. That kind of sucks, but okay. Because I didn't realize how it was going to work with other stuff yet. So that's, whatever, you know. T8, not bad. Not great, not bad. You know, it's a buff. Still got our 2-up save. Nice. Still 13 wounds. Nice. OC4, better than it was in 9th, where it was literally one model, and if you had one objective secured model instead, you lose. Gatling Silencer nerfed so bad. Sustained hits, 1, okay, like that's not horrible. With 12 shots, you're going to average 2 extra hits. Strength 6, no AP now. 1 damage. Like, I'm glad I magnetized all of my Dreadknights, because I have actually pulled the silencers off of them and replaced them with the Heavy Incinerator, which was buffed. It's not a psychic weapon, so suck it, Thousand Suns. Even though in the lore, the Promethium that they put into the incinerators, which is why it's so strong, are infused with psychic energies, but whatever. In the game, it's not psychic. Totally not. Ignores cover, torrent. We know, I think we know why. It's because like there might be some stratagem support for it or something, and they don't want that on flamers. 18-inch range. They just gave it 50% more range. This came up in my first game, and it was rad because there was a unit 17 inches away, and I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not gonna hit. And then I managed to glance down at my data sheet, and I'm like, wow, that really says 18 inches. Strength 6, -1, 1 damage, ignoring cover again means it's effectively -2 AP because, again, if you're playing this game at all and not caught completely off guard, everything in the game should have cover. So, AP1 is no AP, AP2 is 1 AP, unless you have ignores cover. So it's great. Psy Cannon, also nerfed, but also buffed.
Just give it 2 AP.
They dropped the AP by 1, but increased the damage by 1. Probably because we lost Empiric Amplification. Strength went up, but all the sort of AT stuff strength went up. Hi, Tony. Yes, it's an 18-inch unit. That's what I said. Tony is my closest friend who does not play... Well, he's my closest friend, period. He does not play 40k. So he likes to just stream bomb and make dumb comments. But so the I didn't get this. Like I don't know why so little AP where we already are suffering so hard for any kind of decent anti-tank shooting. Mm-hmm. Like we're at the point right now where it's like you bring a Storm Raven, right, buddy? Or you bring a Land Raider or a Razorback, but then they also reduce the number of shots to give them twin linked. So like a Razorback only has 1 shot. We don't have rerolls. Except the command reroll, which I'm not going to count. No. So like you got 1 shot. They hit on 3s. You're going to miss 1/3 of your shots. So you're going to miss on average twice in a game. 2 shooting phases, the Razorback's not gonna hit anything. And it just, I don't know, it feels really bad that they didn't keep the Psy Cannon a little higher in AP. Either that or raise the strength, like make it strength 14, no AP or something. And that way, like, you are fishing for those easier wounds, but those easier saves as well. I don't know. It feels like it's that's a weird profile, right?
Yeah. I think strength 14 would be like the dream, because then I'm wounding big knights on 4s, which I don't think that I should wound them on 4s. I think strength 12 would probably be probably good, because it's like certain things like I'm just gonna keep taking custodes because it's easy. Wardens, toughness 6. I would wound them on 2s. I wound them on 3s because they're -1 to be wounded. So the good things like that are probably going to have some form of similar ability, -1 to hit, -1 to wound, so it'll offset the strength, because it's like we still now only, like this guy, for instance, only hits on 3s. So
yeah,
it's like,
I was going to bring that up in a little bit, but yes.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
So it's like, but you give me 6s, because then baby knights, I'm wounding them on 3s instead of 4s. I think that my biggest shooting that isn't from a heavy vehicle should be able to wound a baby knight on 3s, a big knight on 5s. I think that would probably be very reasonable. I still think it should be 2 AP for a big shot, especially it's like silencer going to 0 is so brutal. I think it should 611, flamer 611, and then heavy Psy Cannon, I think 12-2-3. And it's like, let me tell you, the 3 does make me excited, because 3 is a lot when they fail something. That's a Terminator. Yep. That's a third of a baby knight. It's not bad. That's half of most characters that aren't named characters. There's like 3 damage. That is good. Built-in empiric amplification. But it's only built-in empiric amplification for that 1 gun. So I don't want to compare it to amplification, because that was all of our shooting and all of our melee sands Stormbolters.
Yep. You're not wrong, sir. You're not wrong.
No. But I mean, that Surge of Wrath, that's an ability.
Yeah. I also want to point out that when we're looking at these profiles, especially the 3 to hit and the, the base 3 weapon skill and ballistic skill, this dude costs, hold on, let me look him up real quick. 245 points.
Yep.
That is approximately what we paid for this dude in ninth when we gave him all the things. And I guess they would be 2 CP as well, which there's no real correlation for that. But anyway, like, that's mega expensive. And to not hit on 2s, I know he gets full rerolls once a game into monsters or vehicles. Like, I get it. But really, that is the bomb, not for the to hit, but the to wound and the damage.
Yeah.
Because how many times have you, like, swung with a hammer, right? Barely squeezed 1 wound through and then rolled, like, a 1 for a total of 4 damage. Like, that feels feels terrible. So, I don't think giving him a 2-up to hit or in melee or range would change much. Like, in the grand scheme of things, but it would feel better. And it might make 245 feel a little better as well. So, we already talked a little bit about how they just whacked Dreadfists.
Yeah. Crisis asked if Dreadknights fit on terrain to try and use plunging fire. They're not fit on top of terrain most of the times.
Yeah, I mean,
unless you get crates.
I don't remember how plunging fire is specifically worded. I thought it was in a, like, different levels of a ruin. Because then otherwise every piece of terrain would need to know, like, oh yeah, this is 1 level higher. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, if you fly on top of a crate and you spend the assault gun strat that we have, which I can't remember the name of now, and then you shoot, like, I don't know if being on top of a crate counts. I know being in a ruin would count, but then how are you going to fit that monster model in a ruin? So, I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not... Yeah. I don't
know. Again, we talked about it. I think it should be once per turn, not once per battle round. Especially Surge of Wrath. Yeah.
Wow. You think that...
Yeah. I think it should be... I think it should either be... Yeah, I think it should be once per turn, or I think it should be once per battle round... like,
once
individually.
Per battle is what it is now.
No, it's once per battle round.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's
I was confusing it because only 1 model can use it at a time per battle round.
Yes, and I think, I think that should also change. Because again, these are the only 3 characters that have it, and if I get 3 Grandmasters into engagement range, I've earned it. Let me reroll, because again, it's just monsters or knights. So it's like, okay, I mean, if it were anything, like literal just once per battle round reroll, sold 100%.
I mean, what's up, Optimus? At that point, I'm just if it's once per battle round, or like, that's wildly good, especially if it's into anything. Like, or I'm sorry, you know what I'm saying. I don't know why I keep thinking this is once per battle. Sorry.
But at 245 per, so it's like if they left everything else the way it stands and just changed that one ability to once per turn or once per battle round, but each Grandmaster can do it, you think that would be too good? With everything else as is as it stands, you think that's too good?
If they removed the monster or vehicle part.
No. I'm talking about just you can leave monster or vehicle, but change it to where once per battle round, each Grandmaster Nim Knight can use Surge of Wrath.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I guess that's probably fine. Yeah.
So it's like I think that could have been an easy change, because it's like, again, at 245. That's 700 plus points that I have just dedicated to being able to do this.
Or what if you made it once per battle round, but allowed it for ranged as well? Like, not just melee.
I mean, if it's for the turn.
No, I mean, just you pick one phase. Like, either you reroll all your shooting, or you reroll all of your... I mean, I guess you're not going to reroll the damage on the shooting, obviously, but like... I don't know, because that's like one of the things is we really don't have any good shooting platforms.
No, we have, we have one, and by one I mean we have two. One of them's in the air, one of them's on the ground.
What's the one on the ground?
Land Raider.
I mean, it's also 265 points. Like you're actually paying more than a Grandmaster, and that's
but it's like at least it has guns.
Are you talking about the one with the las guns or the Redeemer? Is it the Redeemer?
No, just the regular Land Raider with the las guns.
Okay, yeah, aren't they like 245 just like the Grandmaster?
They're 265.
Oh my god, that's so much.
Yeah, I know.
For what? Three twin linked las cannon shots with no rerolls?
It's got 2 Godhammer las cannons. Each one gets 2 shots. So you get 4 shots at 12-3 d6 plus 1. And the reason it's good is because you have the assault ramp keyword.
Yeah, I mean, everyone wants assault ramps. That's very good.
Yeah, but now you've got the and even our heavy bolters, because it's this model can be equipped with 1 multi-melta, so you can give it all of these because you don't have to swap anything out. So then it's
Melta is range 18 now?
Yeah.
So Melta range is 9 inches?
Yep. But it's cool. Now it's I've got 4 shots at 48 inches. The shitty 1 hunter killer missile that will never hit or wound. So it's don't just shoot it and then just forget about it. And it's the 2 Melta shots, so that's pretty nice. It comes with it doesn't come with a storm bolter, so you'll just give it the 1 storm bolter. So you'll get 2 shots, maybe 4. And then the twin heavy bolters actually aren't bad. Sustained hits, twin links, 1 AP, whatever. But it's 5-1-2.
It's the exact same profile it had in 9. 5-1-2.
Yeah. And it's that's fine. You can tank shock it for 8. It's not the worst. Maybe you get a couple of mortals in, but it's yeah, so it's when it comes to shooting, the Godhammer las cannons and the Meltas are still going to be better than side cannons and side cannons.
But I mean, what are you going to do? Bring 3 of those? Because again, if you're talking about a potential meta, which we don't really know what the meta is going to be yet. This is still this is an exciting time to be playing this game because who the hell knows how this is going to actually work out. But if you have 1 Land Raider and you're going into that stupid list that I talked about where it's 3 Redemptors and 3 Gladiator Reapers, they put Oath of Moment on your Land Raider and then they kill it instantly. That you still are back to having no anti-tank, and now you're also down 265 points. It feels like you're either gonna lean heavily into AT, which we can't do, or you're going to completely avoid it and rely on things like movement shenanigans, which we have. You can't shoot what you can't see.
Yeah, so it's I mean, and that brings up a really good competitive, it doesn't even have to be competitive, that brings up a really good meta and new addition list building aspect is so for example, this is my first edition transition. I started a month after 9th edition came out of 21, so I was
I started 6 weeks before you did, but I got in 2 games at 8th and I didn't know what I was doing, so it's effectively it's all
you had no idea. So
this is also my first
so with no real meta, you don't know what you're trying to actually survive against, unless for some reason you already know if you're going to you and your friend group, they're oh, I'm playing these guys, and you're oh, okay, I think I'm playing Johnny this weekend, let me build a list around him. But if you were going to an event, you're I have no idea what to expect, so what you're trying to do is find the things that seem the most degenerate that you can just that you can just do. What does this army do so well that I can just spam that ability of? And it's right now, the only thing we really have is movement shenanigans. But until we get a real idea of how the missions play out, how the secondaries really play out, I don't think we have a just this is the go-to busted button.
Yeah. No, I think absolutely. Nobody has that yet. Well,
that's not true.
Maybe
Be'lakor, Kairos, Fate Weaver, busted button.
Just get Draigo. Just get Draigo in like melee range, man. He'll kill Be'lakor. He's an anti-demon 2+. Anyway, AP for 3 damage.
Yeah, but I mean that's if Draigo survives to touch him.
I know.
But it's like what? Eldar, Wraith Knight, D Cannon.
Yeah.
Spam it. What else? Imp Knights. Pick anything and spam it. Custodes. You have Wardens. You have Trajan. You have the Blade Champion. But it's like Wardens and Trajan, like auto ends. Like when I look at our stuff, other than we have one thing that is an auto include in every list, and it's the best character we have.
It's the Librarian. Yeah.
It's the Librarian.
Yeah.
So
which
it's like,
we aren't quite there yet, but that'll be a 15-minute conversation by itself.
Yeah. But it's like the Grandmaster. Yeah, he's fine. It's they did him dirty, but it's like I am excited about the next character,
which is already up on the stream. Castellan Crow. This dude is pretty good. Pretty good. One of the only downsides to him is he can't go with a strike squad. He can only go with a Purifier squad, which makes sense thematically, so I'm not too mad about it. But he slaps. Actually, I just realized they just gave the Black Blade of Antro. Oh, okay. It gets devastating wounds and precision, so never mind.
Yeah.
It is better than our normal Nemesis, but Purifying Flame, that's super good, especially when you compare it or combine it with Champion of the Order of Purifiers. So you stick this guy in with 10 Purifiers, you have 12 Purifying Flame attacks, anti-infantry 2+, ignores cover coming at them. It's not 12 because he gets 3. A normal Purifier gets 1.
Yep.
So you're gonna have 13. Or no, with 10 man they have 1, so you'll go 20.
Oh, 10 man you'll have
24.
He doesn't give himself +1, does he? Because it says while this model is leading a unit, add one of the attack characters of that unit's Purifying Flame. So,
but he joins the unit.
Okay, yeah.
So doesn't he get 4? The 24.
I mean, as long as he does count, that's 24.
24 Purifying Flames, and the strength in the AP is not that great, but that's a lot. It's a lot of extra shots. You can do that while still firing all of their special weapons, all their storm bolters too. Like, it's just a range profile they have access to. And then you can have him just reduce damage to 0 once per turn. You can do that every turn if you want him to. He's very good. The precision and devastating wounds is Narnar. 5 attacks, hitting on 2, strength 6, -2 damage. So again, any 6s to wound are going to become 2 mortal wounds. And precision means you could get him in and chopping on some characters leading units.
Ooh, so I did just check the Purifiers data card.
Yep.
And something that I just realized is Crow's Purify. You have to roll them separate. Crow's Purifiers hit on a 2. The Purifier squad hits on 3s, so you can't just roll 24 together. I didn't realize that they were separate.
Yeah. But it's still 24 total Purifying Flame attacks. Yeah. And anti-infantry +2. So if you roll a 2 to hit, it's automatically wounding into infantry.
Now, let me ask you a
that
question.
That includes Terminators and whatever else has the infantry keyword.
But it's like, that's just auto wound, so it's like, but why doesn't it have devastating wound?
We know why.
Come on.
Because it converts the auto wounds to mortal wounds, which would mean that You really want to do the math? You want to math this out?
No.
All right. No, let's do it. 20 dudes hitting on threes, no reroll. So two.
Dropping a third. You're hitting with 13.
Yeah. So you're hitting with 13. They're anti-infantry +2. So all of those are gonna just.
You'll hit with 11.
Become mortal wounds.
Wound with 11. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're all if they're anti-infantry,
that's fair.
They hit on threes with anti-infantry 2+. Like it's every time they hit, it would become mortal wounds, and you're gonna have one of those stupid combos immediately where you're gonna do 12 to 13 mortal wounds to one unit every single shooting phase. That's why.
True, but now imagine if there were a character, or not even character. Imagine if there were a unit within 6 of this one to give it reroll hits and wounds of 1.
Yes, you are talking about our good Venerable Dreadnought.
He is the best of boxy boys for us.
Optimus is asking, do you think Grey Knights will ever get a range refresh?
They did.
I mean,
Flamers went to 18.
No, he means the model range.
Oh.
That's, you mean you don't like our stunty, weird dwarven silver knights anymore? I don't know, man. We're kind of a niche faction. I don't know. I mean, we got Crow. Crow looked amazing in 9th, but like, am I expecting Grey Knights just get a huge range refresh in 10th? I don't know. I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I already have. I mean, I'm not gonna like replace my whole army, you know. Like that's a lot of painting. That's a lot of building time, a lot of models. So I don't know. I'd love it. I think the true scale stuff looks really nice. I have 3D printed a bunch of the true scale legs for Terminators, and now that I have to go make a whole bunch more ancients and apothecaries from the boxes that I have, I was gonna definitely stick them on the true scale legs. So. The Strike Marine is very squatty, yeah. But if you look at Crow, who is up on the screen right now, like he's wearing Strike Squad armor and he looks dope. Granted, he is Castellan Crow, but like there's a lot of design cues there that we could see on a normal Strike Squad model if it was ever refreshed. So I don't know. I'm not opposed, but yeah.
So the question is, do we think we ever take Purifiers without Crow? Probably not.
No, probably not. They don't have OC. Well, they do have, the base OC.
Yeah.
They don't have a way to give themselves more OC. So Strike Squads are already better. Strike Squads have sticky objective. Purifiers don't. Purifiers Purifying Flame without Crow is not terrible, but it's still not, it's not great. It's not good enough to bring them. They can bring lots of special weapons, yes, but you can do the same exact thing with a Purgation Squad and do it out of line of sight. Like the Flamer Purgation Squad stuff with like mists or coming in within 3 onto an objective held by like, I don't know, 6 grots and then just toasting them alive. Those are the kind of things that, or like even out of line of sight, like you could jump behind a ruin, shoot through it with flamers. I mean, every single one of those squads I'm saying does what the Purifier does, but they do it better in that specific instance, unless you bring Crow, and then suddenly it's like purifying. That's so much Purifying Flame.
Oh, all right. Let's see who's after Mr. Crow.
Stern's fine, I guess. No one's gonna bring Stern. There's so many other better choices.
Nice. It's like cool. He gave us Tide of Convergence, kind of.
Yeah, but it's kind of like they get devastating wounds, sort of, but not really. Yeah. So, and we have 2 damage weapons, so this is kind of like it's mediocre. Strands of Fate means he can pop back up. The problem is if he's dead, his unit's probably dead. If he pops back up, he's gonna die again. It's like, he's just gonna get shot. He doesn't have like lone operative or anything. So I don't think Stern's all that great. And if you want to talk about a bad model, Stern's model is horrendous. His face is terrible.
Yeah. I have one, and I'm like, why do I own this? And
his Storm Bolter is the size of a bus. I don't get it.
It's just a big bolter.
He's honestly not bad. It's just that every other leader in this that we've spoken of is better.
Yeah.
So far.
All right. So Stern, it's all right. Sure. Yeah. The captain, I still, again, like, I'd rather take a Kaplan than the captain. Yeah.
Like, the captain can take a heavy weapon, so like you could do the whole paladin. Well, yeah, you could do like the crazy paladin thing, right? He can join. Yeah, like a paladin thing where now you have 6 special weapons or whatever. But like that's just, and then you have sustained hits. But then you're probably going to bring flamers, and they're not psychic weapons, so you don't get like sustained hits. So I just he's fine, but again, I think there are other leaders that are better.
So it's like with Focus Mind, each time a model in this unit attacks with a psychic weapon, reroll the
Yeah, okay, that is true. Yeah, you can reroll the whole wound roll. That's pretty good.
But that's only with him. I want that to be.
Oh, it is this model.
Yeah, it's like this model. Yeah, that's why it's like this index card has tripped me up for the last 2 days because every time I read it, I'm like, oh, reroll the. I'm like, oh, this model, and it gets me every time. And I'm like, it should just be the unit. Like that. Yeah. That would give us another character to try and play.
He brings a Psy Cannon. You can also reroll the wound roll for the Psy Cannon, but like that's still not
great.
Not great. Yeah.
No.
So meh.
Okay. So now we get to the one we do like.
Yeah. The Brotherhood champion is amazing. He has fight first. He gives fight first to the whole unit. That already right there makes him absolutely amazing. He's 85 points. He's amazing. If you could stick this guy in with Terminator squads, which you can't, holy shit.
Yeah, how fucking sad is that?
So he gives fight first. He has precision on his attacks. When he attacks a character model, he can reroll the hit and the wound because he gets a precision. He could do that pretty reliably. He does have a normal Nemesis Force weapon, which is fine. You're not bringing him for Martial Fury. You are bringing him for Ethereal Castigation, which is the fights first. Full stop.
So, I mean, because we talked about it, since he's got the fight first keyword, you run him by himself, you give him Dominia. Now he has +1 to wound, and you just use him as a character hunter. You just feed him into a unit, you snipe off their character because you're hitting on 2s, rerolling the hit roll, wounding on probably 2s because you're +1 to wound, rerolling the wound roll. It's like, that's not the worst.
It's not the worst, but he doesn't have a lone operative, so you could maybe confuse a player by sticking him in around a unit of strikes, and maybe they won't notice that that's a character. But that's kind of a dick move. And then as soon as they know that's a character, they can just shoot him. So you have to be ultra cagey playing him, or drop him out of deep strike. But now you need a 9-ish charge. It's just
Yeah, but if you fail it, you throw him in the air.
Assuming you see I'm not shot the very next turn, but yeah.
True.
I think he's incredible. 85 points, he's great. He's like the perfect anti-charge threat.
Yeah.
Because fights first, again, it's not your turn when you're charged, so you get to fight first. And then if he fights you, if he comes at you with a character he cares about, he could potentially lose that character.
So it's like
they could potentially lose that.
Like you for sure play him with a 10-man purgation squad, right? That's pretty easy.
Yeah,
because that puts you can bring him with. Yeah, because that's 355 You get fight first with 6 dudes at 3 attacks each, plus then his 5 attacks. You'll have 23
Don't forget
attacks.
the close combat weapon.
Oh, whew. You're right. You're right.
As they were just smacking with the butts of the.
But you'll have 23 attacks at 622, and then 4 attack. Or how many attacks? Do they get 1 attack each with close combat?
I think they get their full attacks. I'd have to look.
There's still 3, but at 401. Well, that's fine because you're still fighting first. But at 23 attacks,
it's still all 3.
Okay, but it's like 23 attacks at 622. That's not bad. And then it's like, man, the purgation. Yeah, it's like just with the purgation squad. Purgation squad's so good.
Yeah, and what's really funny is the Stormbolters out of line of sight. That's pretty comical.
Yep. They're just well, it's like I just like the fact that they're not only wanted like the bullets, but they're just doing it with flames. It's like the flames are just like going where they need to go and then ignoring your cover when they touch it.
They're exactly floating through like the cracks in the rocks as they are psychically like tunneling it through. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not the craziest shit that exists in the 40k universe, that's for sure.
No, not at all.
The champ is great. You'll love him. You should bring him. I'm going to move on to the Brotherhood Librarian. This guy is the MVP of the entire codex. He's fantastic. So kind of like how our entire codex was propped up by the Interceptors in 9th edition, I suspect, and again, we don't know what the meta is going to be like, but if you want consistent, ridiculous damage, you're going to bring 3 of these guys in a competitive list. You're going to stick them in with 3 Terminator squads. They're going to run around all the time doing Vortex of Doom, which they have changed drastically. So now it is in your shooting phase. You can select 1 enemy unit within 18, and is visible to this psyker. We roll a d6 on a 1. You take 1d6 mortal wounds to that unit. On a 2 through 5, you do 2d3, and on a 6, you do 2d6 to the enemy. So you are consistently probably getting 2d3, which is 3 to 4 mortal wounds. So that's a dead Terminator, almost guaranteed. And you can spike up to 2d6 for that sweet 6 to 7 average. And then you're gonna have 3 of these guys. You're gonna be doing this 3 times every turn until they get tired of that and kill that whole unit. And yes, Crisis, that's an excellent point. So Vortex of Doom is not under the ranged weapon category. So by raw, you can snipe lone operators with this. Just has to be visible. The lone operative keyword specifically states ranged weapons. So at 18 inches, you could target a Calexis assassin or whatever and just pop them off the map. Or probably not a is the Calexis the... No, that's the Calidus. I don't remember. They all sound the same to me except the Vindicare. Anyway, you could target anybody who has the lone operative keyword. It's very good. It's consistent. I've only had it go off, or I've never had it go off in the 1 game I've played. I've cast it twice. I rolled a 1 each time. I did 4 mortal wounds to myself, and then his Sanctic Hood saved me every time from taking any of it. So nothing happened, and my opponent just kind of giggled. But the other thing is, he gives psychic defense. If he gave mortal wound, feel no pain, he would even like it'd be even more bonkers. Oh. He only gives a feel no pain against psychic attacks, to the entire model's units, by the way. Which also means if you ever play a Grey Knight Mirror, guess what all of our weapons have as a keyword except incinerators? It has psychic, so it's gonna get gnarly. He has a combi weapon, which is anti-infantry, devastating wounds, and rapid fire, so he doesn't have bad ranged attacks. He has Purge Soul, which you get to pick. It's basically Smite, but 3 damage now, which is great. And then Force Weapon, he hits on 2. He's not bad. What do you think?
I mean, I love this model so much. I thankfully owned 3, and I was blown away. I was like hot. I just right now I'm learning that it's rapid fire 1 because I don't know how to read. So knowing that I could get 2 shots, with anti-infantry 4, much more exciting.
Right.
Because now it's like, okay, 24-inch range, I can easily drop him within 12.
Yeah.
100%. Especially at least one that I'm going to run with Sigil.
So, like, this isn't the mortal wounds Libby of old who could pop off and do, like, 13 mortal wounds in one. I mean, I guess he could if he pops off.
He could.
Actually.
He literally could.
Except you have 3 of them. So, average, he's going to do 3 to 4 mortal wounds with Vortex of Doom. Now, that's an ability, not a ranged weapon. So then to that same unit, he could fire his combi weapon and his Stormbolter and still do a Purge Soul.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at 7 if Purge Soul goes off, plus the Vortex of Doom. So that's 4 and 3. And then your combi weapon could pop like a mortal wound or 2. So you're looking at 7 to 8 mortal wounds from each librarian average.
Mm-hmm.
That's bonkers.
And
you're gonna have 3 of them.
Yeah, it'd be nuts if all the other armies didn't have Feel No Pains.
Yeah, that's true. There are a lot of Feel No Pains out there, and again, if you were to do this into a unit with another Brotherhood librarian in it, they're gonna save half of those. So still, that's a dead Terminator. That's 3-ish failed saves. Like, it's not nothing. But where this guy stands out is, like, folks say, what's our AT? What's our AT? What's our AT? This is your AT. This is your anti-tank. It's targetable. It's not just closest. It's not closest unit. So they can't screen you out with, like, Zangors or something. You get to target what you want to kill. You have 3 of them targeting. 2 of them, assuming no Feel No Pain, reliably kill a Redemptor by themselves. Unlike Draigo and Terminators. Like, that's really good.
This unit is only missing one thing for me to just say that it's the best thing in the book, and it's I just want it to have lone operative, but I understand why it doesn't. Like, just give me something, just like one time, like make it to where it's like, as long as this model isn't leading like a unit, it's got lone operative. Because then I'll drop at 18. I'll hit you from 18, and then I'll just sit there, and then I'll pick him up at the end of your turn. That's all I want to do.
He's good. Honest to God, I don't see competitive lists in the next few months not having 3 of them.
There's no way. They are the most consistent damage that we have.
Yeah, there you go. He's incredible. If you don't already have 3 of those, I hope you're all frantically building them while listening right now.
And if you're not, you should start.
That's a good point. Crisis brought up, he doesn't have -2 AP on his weapon. He is -1 because he has the warding stave from 9th, which was -1, not -2.
But that's rough though, because the warding stave was at least strength 7.
Strength 7,
strength 6.
Right.
So this is strictly worse melee.
Yeah.
But I forgive him because he's got a 4 up to himself, and he deals wounds.
Very good. Next is the Brotherhood Tech Marine. They are exactly 100% no different. There is no, other than the fact that they have the Deep Strike keyword and the faction Teleport Assault, they are like every other Space Marine baseline Tech Marine now. They have the exact same weapons. They have the exact same everything. They have the exact same abilities. It got worse from 9th, but I'm just saying, like, it's exactly the same as every other Tech Marine. Like, they don't Like, they don't have the option to take a psi weapon or something. They don't have a Nemesis Force axe. They have a omniscient power axe, you know. So they are exactly the same from the data sheet. Obviously, they look different, but
True.
Exactly the same. They're 2-up save now. It doesn't matter because everyone else has one too. They're great if you're bringing a lot of Dreadknights. If you bring, like we just saw with Quinn's 6 Stompy robot list. If you're bringing a lot of like land raiders and stuff, or cats who like to interrupt the stream. Now you probably want to bring a Tech Marine.
You know what I think they should have allowed the Tech Marines to do is, or what they should have let like Dreadknights do is lead a unit of a Tech Marine. So it's like, but what that would mean is, I wish that the thing attached had some catch-up mechanic to movement. Because it's like,
that's always been rough for Tech Marines, you know?
But it's like, you're telling me that, like, with his servo arm, he couldn't, like, clamp on to, like, the baby carrier and just, like, say, "we," right? No, he's fine.
Slap the Grandmaster straight on the ass and away they go.
Yeah, it's strength 8, we're toughness 8. That thing can latch onto me, it's fine. But it's like, I think that would have been cool. So that way it's like, every Dreadknight, well, 3 Dreadknights just have, like, a Tech Marine on them. Because that would actually make them good. But it's I dislike that the heal is now in the command phase and not at the end of the movement phase, because a lot of times I would frantically run a Dreadknight back to like a Tech Marine so I could be like, "Please save me for at least the turn." And now it's like, once you're out of range, you're out of range. And it's only 3 inches, where it's at least the +1 to hit, which is now melee and shooting, not just shooting. Is 6 inches. So I wish they had left the heals and the plus at 6.
Crisis actually brought up a great point. They move 5.
Yeah.
I don't. Is that less than before?
1 second, because I have the.
I pretty much always advance them everywhere because like
they move.
Their shooting
6.
does not matter. So I advance them everywhere all the time. So I literally don't remember what their base movement was.
They move. They move 6 and 9th.
Okay. So yeah, so not only do they lack a catch-up mechanic, they made them slower.
Yeah, clearly they were too good at 9th and they had to be nerfed.
Kippy, what's up, man? Like, yeah, been a long time. They have some weird shit they can do where if they're near a model, they get lone operative, or near a friendly vehicle model within 3 inches, they get lone operative. So you can have them following a Dreadknight and not immediately get sniped off the board, which is nice. There's also some weird stuff because they can attach to a strike squad. There's some weird stuff some people have said about like there's some way people were saying they could bring like a Tech Marine and 4 Servitors in with the strike squad or something. I'm not 100% sure of this rules interaction. It's interesting to bring up only because Servitors got better with their bang bang shooty. So they hit on 3s with the Tech Marine around now. So you could bring some multi-melta that way. I would not rely on that or build for that. That is funny, but I don't think it's good.
Well, it's cute because the Servitors at least have they have retinue, so it's like while they're attached to a Tech Marine, they do gain deep strike and teleport assault. So you can actually start them in the air, drop them in with the multi-melta, so you can actually slap first to the fray on the Tech Marine, start a unit of Servitors with multi-meltas in the air, drop them down, use the strat to turn the meltas into assault with +1 to hit, and then you're just like,
and then you roll 1s for damage.
Exactly, but
and because multi-multis are now 18-inch range instead of 24, you can't actually drop down into deep. You could do whatever the new dynamic
within
prognosticated arrival. You could drop within 3, but then you basically are just saying goodbye to that unit.
Or you're sending
unless
it back
you
up
miss, you immediately miss. Yeah, that's 2 CP to do something cute with 4 servitors, of which only 2 of them are even going to have multi-multas. So, I mean, it's basically like spending 2 CP on 1 eradicator to hopefully do well. You know what I mean? I just don't see that. I don't see that.
The servitor retinue at the start of the declare battle formation step, this unit can join 1 other unit from your army that is being led by a Brotherhood Tech Marine. So yeah, you could take Tech Marine, 4 servitors, and 5 strikes. And then you could just try and bank on 6-up invulns from the servitors as your first line of defense. You just let them chip away at those. I did play with a unit of servitors yesterday, and I did make 3 out of 4 6-ups. So they had to shoot more shitty guns into the servitors, and then they died. But it was still really funny.
That is funny. I don't think it's good, but it is very funny.
Of course not.
Yeah. I mean, I know that you knew, but still, I had to say it.
Yep. But let's see. Other than that, the Tech Marine's fine. I like the +1 to hit. The healing D3 is fine. Plasma Cutter, not bad.
He did only do +1 to hit in ranged in 9th. In 10th, it's just +1 to hit. So you slap a normal Dreadnought on the butt, you say, go get him, Tiger. He advances with fly 14 inches, then he charges after he shoots. So he's going to be hitting on 2s with all his guns, then he's going to charge, and he's going to be hitting on 3s with his hammer, because if you don't bring a hammer now, you're crazy. And you probably spend 1 CP on tank shock to get those 5 to 6 mortal wounds out of the way. And then you have an angry Dreadnought with +1 to hit on a hammer, stomping you in melee. So, not bad. Not bad at all. If you're going to go heavy melee, heavy Dreadnought, like, just like in 9th, you're going to want to slap at least 2 of these guys in your list, if not 3.
True.
Moving on to the Brotherhood Champion. This guy is good. There are other characters that are also good. He falls in the bucket with that with them. His melee is as bad as the Librarians. It's exactly the same, actually, except he has 1 more attack. Whatever. His storm bolter does not matter. Firing it will not matter. But you bring him for +1 to wound for the whole unit that you stick him in with. And unfortunately, it does just say melee. But that's where we're worse. We're like, our melee doesn't stick like it did in 9th. So +1 to wound in melee. So our strength, 6 are gonna wound like normal Marines on 2s. We're gonna be wounding Redemptor Dreadnoughts on 4s.
Hey,
I'm gonna keep bringing this up because I'm annoyed.
I understand, but you'll squeeze 1 damage through if they fail.
That's right. That's right. Thank you. Love it. He's leadership 5, which is super cool. That's one of the lowest leaderships I've seen. He does not confer that leadership to his entire unit, though, which is a little weird, so I'm confused how this is supposed to work. Like, can you choose to take a battle shock check test with the leader? Do you automatically go? Oh, you can't. Okay.
You can choose, but there's no reason not to just choose the better stat.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it might as well say it confers his leadership to the rest of the unit, and then that entire question is gone. Like, you don't have to ask that, but whatever. He's a Terminator, so 2-up save, and then 4 pinvul, moving 5. He's good. He's good. He's solid. The +1 to wound is incredible. He can only go on Terminators and Paladins, which is not surprising. Now we're back to the Terminators. These are my favorite troops of the new edition. Not that there are troops anymore, but you know what I mean. They are expensive. We're talking 45 points a model. That is the same again as an Adeptus Custodes. A lot. It's a lot. But for that, you get 5 dudes, so 225 points for one of them can bring a special weapon. If you bring the Ancient Batter, they go from OC2 to OC3, which is bonkers. And then that Ancient can also choose to bring a special weapon. So you'll have 2 special weapons in every Terminator 5-man. Because why wouldn't you? You lose out on 1 melee weapon, which kind of sucks. But I think the 3 OC is probably worth it. And then you'll have 2 flamers in every Terminator squad, which means people won't want to charge you or stop near you to get overwatched. Their melee, so many people have missed this. I've watched 2 bat reps where people miss this now. They're up to 4 attacks now. They were 3 in 9th, which was still good. Now they're up to 4. That's what Paladins were at in 9th. So they're hitting like Paladins now, except 3 ups, not 2 up. But anyway, it's a lot, like, 33% more attacks. Pretty good. Hammerhand sadly let me down. I was hoping for +1 to wound or reroll all wounds. I think that would be very, very strong. But like or devastating wounds or something. Instead we got lethal hits. Since you probably haven't heard those 2 words next to each other in any other index, let me remind you that means that when you hit with a 6, they automatically wound. So it's kind of like having the anti keyword, but it's every time you get a critical hit, but those are only critical hits of 6. So it's not like, it's better than not having anything, but honestly, they did Hammerhand dirty.
Yeah.
Hammerhand used to be incredible. So it's not bad, but it's not great. And then you can also upgrade one of them to a apothecary, and this is where they shine. So now you have 5 guys, OC3, 2 special weapons. With the apothecary, you do lose a Stormbolter. No one cares. But you get the ability to, just for free, in your command phase, you res a model. Except characters. So you can't just keep like bringing back Draigo, but you can just, that's every single one of your guys. So if you want to bring 6 Terminator squads in your command phase, you could potentially be resing 6 Terminators for free. No CP to do this. It just happens. It's fantastic. Every time you do that, it is a 3 wound, toughness 5, 2 up save, 4 up invul, 3 OC model that you're bringing back. It's very good. Quinn, did I miss anything?
Ooh, no. No, this is the other than, well, no, this is the best troop style, like non-character unit that's in the book. Movement 5, but we auto advance 6, so it's like they're no longer slow.
With fly.
Yeah.
With fly.
So it's like, so that's not bad. So it's like they're getting up the board at a decent speed. We like that. +1 OC. Well, what I really like about +1 OC is how the stack of the game is now going to work. I fail a battle shock test, I go to 0 OC. Guess what? I'm actually still 1 OC. So that's great. You're never actually taking me off an objective, because I'll never count as 0. I'll at least always count as 1 per model. Huge. Yeah, they bring back a model. Custodes got to spend a CP to do it for their guys. We just do it for free, and all it costs us is a Stormbolter. I am the Stormbolter's biggest fan.
Yeah.
I'll sacrifice it for a model.
Yep. I am,
Now, Hammerhand.
Though, the Stormbolter thing did remind me. Terminators across the entire game lost Bolter Discipline, or whatever it was called, where they just always did 4 shots. So you're no longer going to always be firing 40 Stormbolter shots with a 10-man. Unfortunately, not only do you just not do that, and you lost Stormbolters, but yeah, you just can't do that now. They're just straight up rapid fire too. So that makes me sad panda a bit.
With lethal hits, are we forced for them to be auto wounding? Could we choose to roll them to wound?
I would suspect that they are forced, because it's like how you can't like choose not to fight with a unit. You know, like I think you have to use the abilities on your card.
Well, it's like I know that it's like because I'm trying to remember. Oh, it's like I just don't know. It's like if we are forced to have them auto wound, or if I could choose to just have them be hits. I'm just not sure how that works, because it's like I'd probably like.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised. Like, you know, if you're like, I want to fire my silencer, but without sustained hits 1. I mean, okay, that's like, why? I know you're probably trying to fish for wounds. Like devastating wounds, but like you're trying to get it with Radiant Strike, I assume. Yeah, because that's the only way to get it.
It was just trying to figure out if there's like any way for this to not just bite us in the ass, but it's like that. It's like, you know what? With a 5-man, 20 attacks, we'll get 3 6s, so we'll just have 3 auto wounds. Auto wounds are actually a very good anti-tank thing. So it's like, that's not bad. Not against Redemptors, not against things that are -1 or half damage.
Yeah.
But just in general, it's like lethal hits isn't a bad ability to just have on your data sheet. Unfortunately, it's like by the time we get to like, and this is rough too, because it's like when you're looking at the index cards from top to bottom, by the time I finally get to the Terminators and I'm like, these aren't bad, I'm pretty beat up by these characters. And I'm like, okay. And then it's like, all right, I see the Terminators, I like them. It's man, but now it's like I'm wishing they had just given us the 6 inches on all of the incinerators, not just the dreads. So I think that would have been a pretty good addition. I don't think it would have been too good, especially since AP, or it's like ignoring cover. AP1's AP1, but it's like I think 18 would have been cool. The 4 attacks is huge. Again, 20 attacks, hitting on 3s. Unfortunately, currently no rerolls.
Yeah, but you won't get any. You won't get any from the ancient, but yeah, I mean, still, that's probably actually why they went up 1 attack. But
so why aren't we getting one with the ancient?
Because if you take a special weapon, they lose the nemesis.
One Brotherhood Terminator equipped with a Stormbolter can be. I thought it replaced the Stormbolter. That's my bad. You right?
Yeah, it replaces the Stormbolter. Can be replaced with the Ancient's banner. So.
No.
Oh my gosh! No, you're right. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I did read that wrong. Okay, so
it's like
I have a whole bunch of Ancients. Wait.
Yeah, so it's like the way this reads: one Brotherhood Terminator equipped with a Stormbolter can be equipped with one Ancient's banner, but the Ancient's banner isn't. It isn't its own like melee weapon because there's no stat line for it, and it doesn't say it replaces a melee weapon. So you still have, and it's not a special weapon, is it? Because it doesn't say that it's a special weapon. So in my knowledge, they just have a banner now, and they still have all of their attacks. Is how that reads.
So then I'm wrong when I say that you could get 2 special weapons in every storm or every.
Correct, because for every 5 models,
Paladins you can do that, but not Terminators. Okay.
Correct. So it's like the banner is just you're just sacrificing a storm, or actually you're not sacrificing anything for the banner. You're just equipping a banner because it just says a Brotherhood Terminator equipped with a Stormbolter can be equipped with a Ancient's banner.
Okay.
but it's like it doesn't say it replaces your Nemesis Force weapon or anything of that nature.
So I played that wrong in my game. I didn't bring too many special weapons. That's not what I mean, but I did accidentally not attack with my ancient then. He was just standing there being like, "Good job, chaps."
Fair.
So maybe I could have just slightly overkilled a Redemptor Dreadnought instead of barely.
Nice. Getting the one more wound.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it looks here like we can only, in a 5-man, we just take one heavy weapon, and I don't even think it's an incinerator for this unit, to be honest with you. I think it would just be a side cannon.
Why?
Well, actually, oh, sorry, never mind. It's because I kept thinking it was 3 damage, but that's only for the dreads. Yeah, you just take the incinerator.
No, you take the, you take the,
yeah. That's all me. You don't have to be so appalled.
Oh, bless my
gasp.
Be still, my beating heart. No, what sucks is that all of my Terminators are modeled with either side cannons or silencers. I have a ton of Terminator incinerators in gray plastic in my bit spin. I don't have any ready to go. So, like I said, I'm going to be building a lot of Terminators, and they're going to be like ancients and dudes with incinerators.
Fair.
Strike Squad. We got into them in depth at the beginning of the episode, so I'll make this a little quicker. They get Scout 6 in my game. I forgot that they had that. I never used it. They get sticky objectives. They got +1 to their armor save. You can take one guy with a special weapon if you want. I don't know why you would. I mean, I guess it's an anti-charge threat, but there will be so many of those on the board now because you can overwatch in the movement phase that I don't think you bother dropping the melee weapon for it. There's some stuff, because if you with the non-Terminator models, if you take a special weapon, you lose your melee weapon. With Terminators, you can take the special weapon and keep your melee weapon. So I don't think it's worth it personally. I'm going to just have these guys run around with all melee weapons. These guys are, while they are worried about your Terminators or your Paladins, or at least annoyed by them and trying to dig them off of them like very hardy ticks, your strike squads are going to be running around scoring you stuff, generally speaking. They have sticky objectives. They have 2 OC. And then because we can pick them up and just drop them all over the board, you can be scoring engage on all fronts. You could be scoring deploy, teleport homers. You can be scoring behind enemy lines, which is an amazing one for us in 10th because we can just drop half of our army at a time behind your lines. So these guys are going to be scoring you stuff on secondaries or primaries that are left out. But generally speaking, I think these guys are there for scoring you secondaries, while your Terminators are scoring you primary.
There was you had mentioned shooting Overwatch in the movement phase, and I know that's a thing. I forgot that was a thing.
Yeah.
There's a really cool way that we get to play around that though. If there's a unit that you're worried about, I did this earlier against Knights because I didn't want his harpoon to just destroy me again. If you advance with a unit, that is the teleport assault, so that counts for the halo or whatever protects you outside 12. So if you advance and trigger the teleport assault, halo can be used so you can't be shot outside 12, and you get to use that before they get to declare fire overwatch. So that can keep you from being overwatched in the movement phase, if that is something you were concerned about.
I did exactly that in my game on turn 2, and I sat on an objective. I made it impossible for the Redemptors to actually fire at them, even though they were standing in the open. I turned one objective to my side because it is sticky, and then the next turn they jumped off of it and did stuff elsewhere. This is very important because of how fucking expensive we are now. All of your models have to be doing something all the time. You the days of I have 40 points left, I'll bring some servitors are kind of gone. Where at least I don't know about you, Quinn, but when I've been building lists, I either find I'm over by 5 or under by 50.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, it's so rough, dude. That's why it's not being able to flex in a model or two.
Yeah.
It's just it's so hard, which is why it's these points. It's that's why it's super hard to make a very synergistic, coherent 2,000 point list that again isn't 1,700 points or 2,005 points, and it's
so many times I've been at 2005. So many.
Yep.
Anyway, these guys are great. You're gonna want them. You're gonna want to bring a squad or two at least, and in like pretty much every list. They're fantastic because again, they're still a threat, but they're not such a threat that they're gonna get shot immediately unless you make them the only target. And if you do, you can always Halo and Soulfire them, or Halo in Soulfire. But yeah, these are who are going to be scoring you your secondaries. They're great. Also, I pointed this out earlier. I want to point it out again because when I reread the rules and learned this, it blew my mind. If you put these guys with their scout move of 6 into a dedicated transport, which includes Razorbacks, by the way, they do have that specific keyword, not just transport, but dedicated transport. The transport also gains the 6-inch move. So use that as you will. That's pretty cool, and it keeps them safe.
Okay, so how many points can I play in Rhinos to strike squads?
Yeah.
Because I can run as many as I want, right? Battle line, dedicated transports.
All right.
Just pre-game everything.
Yeah, just like Necrons in 9th.
Paladins, we already talked about these.
Paladins, yeah. They're awesome. They're hardy. They're expensive. They're 51 points a model. You don't get the Narthesium with them, which makes me sad. They're OC1 going to OC2 if you give a banner. They hit on 2s, not 3s. They also buffed them, so in 9th they hit on 3s with ranged and 2 in melee, because I guess they spent more time in the gym swinging their melee weapons around, but apparently they've also hit the firing range on 10th, because they are a 2-up ballistic skill now as well, which won't matter, because you'll be bringing mainly incinerators with them. Because Paladins... So I guess we should start here. Their special is Inner Fortitude. They are -1 to be wounded if a strength characteristic of the attack is greater than the toughness of the unit, which is really the only time you care for the most part. So Stormbolters are still going to wound them on 5s, not 6s. But if you get shot by a Volcano Cannon, they can only wound you on a 3, not a 2. So you kind of get like a weird mini transhuman from 9th with another stipulation. It's kind of like Ramshackle meets transhuman. Anyway, so don't confuse that. I see that happening a lot too. People assume that like Stormbolters are never going to wound them. That's not true. All right. Where they get really interesting though is in their special weapons. So they can take twice as many as a Terminator squad. And their ancient can also take a special weapon, which is where I got confused earlier. So you could have, in a 10-man, you could have 4 paladins with special weapons, give the ancient a special weapon for 5, and if you're feeling really froggy, you could take someone like a brother captain, or and then give them an incinerator as well, because let's be fair, you're bringing incinerators, and now your 11 model unit has 6 incinerators in it. But you're not going to do that because that's a shitload of points, because they're 51 each. And you could just bring another strike squad and Terminator squad for the same price. But it is a cool tech choice. You could slap Voldus in there, and now they're -1 to be hit and -1 to be wounded. And Voldus's -1 to be hit is melee and ranged, as we stated earlier. So is their -1 to be wounded. So you could end up with a really hardy unit. Not bad. but they are very expensive. 51 points. Again, 51 points. You really love your Purifiers, Quinn, and I really need to use the restroom. So I'm going to let you take this away because I've had like 2 liters of water in the last 2 hours.
Nice.
Because I'm very smart. I will be right back.
Got it. Let's see. Purifiers? Big fan of this unit, but probably only with Crow. So we got movement 6, but we do have teleport assault. So if we're not starting in the transport first turn, we're probably just moving 12 and flying to hide behind something. Toughness 4, same as a normal Marine. 2-up save, again, that's why we're paying some more points. 2 wounds. Leadership 6, not bad. OC 1. Ranged weapons. With these, unfortunately, I can't show you guys the same cards unless did he put it up on the screen for us? Okay, yeah. So what you guys can't see is the one below that where it does say that for every 5 models in this unit, up to 2 Purifiers can replace their Storm Bolters and force weapons with the following. We would take 2 Incinerators, 2 close combat weapons. So with these, you're probably taking a 10-man, so that way you make the most out of Purifying Flame, 1 shot apiece. 18-inch range with that anti-infantry 2 and ignoring cover with Crow and a 10-man. Now again, like we said earlier, you're looking at 20 attacks plus Crow's 4, so 24 shots, hitting on 3s with them unless you are on like plunging fire, which I believe that gives them what, +1 to hit, so now they'd all be hitting on 2s. With anti-infantry 2, so that'd be really good against Marines, super good against probably what is soon to be the Horma and Tormagaunt spam list that we'll see from Nids, where they just play an absurd amount of blobs. They move block you at every point that they can get. So having things like this and our Storm Bolters and our Incinerators are just going to help do a bunch of work against anti-infantry. So if you guys are looking to play against local friends or competition that are looking to play hordes, highly recommend Crow and the 10 Purifiers. They don't really have, let's see, their special there, Sanctity of Purpose. Each time a model in this unit makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll if you're below starting strength, and add 1 to the wound roll if this unit is below half strength. So, out of your 10-man, 1 dies. You're probably, in theory, going to kill off one of your Incinerators. You do that, so now because the Incinerators auto-hit, and you do that, so that way now, boom, you have +1 to hit with all of your 6 melee dudes remaining, as well as Crow, who's attached. Then, as you slowly pull off the Incinerates, you'll lose 4 of those, so you'll still be above your starting strength, but then, or you'll be above half strength. Then when you lose 2 more, you'll be below half strength, or if you lose 1 more, you'll be below half strength because you'll have 11, because Crow does count for the 11th. You'll lose 6, going to 5, so now Crow plus the other 4 remaining will have not only +1 to hit, but also +1 to wound. So that's not too terrible. With these, one of my only issues is that with Crow attached to him, you can't take first to the fray. You do have to try and march 11 models up the board and hide them if you're not starting them in a transport. If you are starting them in a transport, a Rhino can indeed house them. But unfortunately, when we get to like the Rhinos, you'll see they don't have much of a. They do have I think what do Rhinos have, a 2-up save now, or is it still a 3?
I think it's still
it might
3.
be 2. Is it? But it's like they don't have an invuln. There's no way. It's like they do have the smoke keyword, so you can try and do something with those.
And they are T10 if I remember right. So we'll see. Yeah. I mean, I can just look it up because we're just talking.
Oh yeah,
about it now anyway.
I was scrolling. Rhino T9.
Okay.
It does have firing deck 2, so that's kind of cool. You could, if you decided to put the Purifiers into a Rhino, you do get to shoot 2 of your heavy weapons out of that Rhino, so you do get to shoot 2 flamers out of it, which isn't bad. Or you get to shoot 2 purifying flames. Crow is indeed still leading that unit, so you will get firing deck two, but firing deck is you pick 2 weapon profiles, but you would pick Crow's Purifying Flame because it gets 3 shots up to 4, I believe. Otherwise, it's just the 3. I'm not sure if the Rhino would get the +1, but he would get the +1. And then you just pick probably an incinerator. So this Rhino is going to have 1 cannon shooting out a flame, and the other cannon shooting out a purifying flame.
Very many flames,
right? There's very many flames, but it's like, yeah, the Purifiers, I like them, but again, I think I only like them with Crow. You take the incinerators, and then you always you don't always, but you probably pull the incinerators first when dudes die, so that way you do get the more benefits from the +1 to hit on your melee units.
And for whatever reason, we got back the self-repair on the Rhino.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. These are things that happen.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll take whatever buff I can get.
Yeah,
they probably should have given it a 2-up save though.
It's not. Yeah, I'd take a 2-up over self-repair.
True.
All right,
cruising along.
Servitors. I think we already talked about them with.
We did.
The Tech Marine.
Yeah, if they're attached to a Tech Marine, they get +1 to hit, +1 to hit for their, or +1 to their ballistic skills, I should say, because then they could still benefit from a +1 to hit.
Which I'd like to point out here that their BS is now 4+, not 5+. So they go to 3-up, which they're shooting like Space Marines at that point.
Yeah, but then when you drop them in and you make them assault and you give them +1 to hit, they're hitting on 2s.
Yeah, they're hitting like Custodes at that point.
Woo!
I know everybody just says use that multi-melta, but now I remembered like this is also one of the only ways in the entire index to get plasma. It's like I think it's like Servitors, Vendread, and the Storm Raven. That's like the only way to get plasma in the entire index. So you could do funny stuff where you drop them and do plasma shenanigans instead of multi-melta, because you can't drop them within melta range anyway. So you could do plasma, and if you overcharge and they die, like
you just pull the 2. Yeah, it's like, oh well. It's like they die, but shit happens.
Yeah. Who cares?
And then we talked about how they can be included with a Tech Marine and a unit that the Tech Marine is leading.
Yep.
But that's not always the best, and then the reason being is the Tech Marine, will lead a strike squad, and you'll have a strike squad with Servitors, and you'll miss out on the pregame, and the Tech Marine won't be able to give them +1 to hit, it won't be able to heal them, so that it's not really, again, a fairly non-bow that you don't need to worry about.
It's cute, but not great. It's cute, but not particularly useful.
Which is how I feel about this next unit.
Right? I wanted the Vendread to be.
It's so close.
And the only reason is something is missing. 2 things are missing from this data sheet. Yeah, if it had those 2 things.
Oh, is one of them Deep Strike?
What? No. And the other is Teleport Assault.
Yeah. That's right. Like, how? You're telling me that this thing can't move like a Dreadnought, just 2 inches slower? Man, that's
apparently not.
Because let me tell you, if this thing had fine, don't give it Deep Strike. I understand that it's kind of shitty, but give it Teleport Assault, because I will haul ass 12 inches at a time diagonally in order to get rerolls on somebody.
So we should pull back slightly. You started to hit on it there at the end. This is one of the only ways we get rerolls in the entire index. It is the only way we get an aura of rerolls. Nothing else grants that. You have to bring one of these gentlemen. The problem is, in my eyes, Grey Knights right now are an immensely maneuverable, fast army. We can be anywhere on the board at any one time, so that unit that you really need rerolls with has probably fucked off and left this guy in the backfield by himself, because he doesn't have those same movement abilities. If he had Deep Strike, if he had Teleport Assault, you could bring him along with the units that you really need rerolls for. Unfortunately, he's going to trundle up the board at the speed of a Strike Marine. except our Strike Marines are even faster because they have teleport assault. So best case, you can keep rolling 6s on your advance with this guy because he doesn't get the auto advance because, again, he doesn't have teleport assault, and he'll move 12.
Yep.
That and he won't be able to shoot unless you want to spend a CP on him. And then actually, you know, that also requires the teleport assault keyword, if I remember right. So you can't even do that. If he advances, he can't shoot. You're just bringing him at 140 points to do rerolls, and he's just too expensive, not maneuverable enough. There's no synergy with the rest of our army. I would love to learn that was a mistake, that they add those two things on there, like on the sly in a FAQ or something, but I don't see that happening. This model is incredible. And you're never going to bring one in a really competitive list. I know Derek very much disagrees with us, Quinn. He has a whole video out that I still haven't watched, all of it, talking about wombo combos between the Vendread and a unit of 10 Purifiers with Crow in it.
Well, yeah, but it's like, that again, that means you're taking the Storm Raven, and that means you're either starting it in hover and praying to God that it lives, or you're starting it off the board and it's not doing anything until turn 3. Because you bring it in on turn 2, because you can't give it first to the fray, they can't drop anything, and then you're praying that it stays alive until turn 3. Trust me, my other list is built around it. I'm going to try my damnedest, but with how big it is, and because fly is now not fly, even the 20-inch movement of that thing is probably actually only 12. When you're done turning and finagling. Maybe you get 14 out of it. And it's like, that's not bad. Then maybe you drop something out, and that's still pretty good. But it's like, it's tough. I'm going to play more games tomorrow. And tomorrow I'm definitely using the Storm Raven list. At least, I'll probably do 2 games with that. But then I'm working on something else. I'm just going to keep making random lists. That way I just see what the hell works and what doesn't. But it's like, I want it to work so bad. Because yes, you drop it out with Crow and 10 Purifiers, you now have 24 shots hitting on 2s to 3s, rerolling 1s, wounding infantry on 2s, rerolling 1s. Super good. But
so Ken, when you ask that question, when you say it, to whom are you referring?
I assume the Dread.
Yeah, so the Storm Raven can start on the board turn 1 if you start it in hover, which means it's not flying. So it's not -1 to be shot. It is just shootable. The Vendread does not have the Deep Strike or the Teleport Assault keywords, so it cannot use the Rapid Ingress stratagem, and it cannot start in Deep Strike, and it cannot advance and fly, unlike everything else in the army. So unfortunately, the Dreadnought, as cool of a model as it is,
it's like, it's like I really like it with Crow in them, but that's probably where it stops.
Thanks for asking, though, Ken, because if you were confused, someone else probably also was. So
that's true. I do really like that Dreadnought combat weapon, though.
Yeah, it's pretty dope, isn't it?
Yeah.
5 attack strength, 12 hitting on 3s, -2, 3 damage.
But why isn't his flamer 611?
Is his flamer 18 inches at least?
No.
No. It's not an incinerator, it's a flamer. Huh, weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like, I find that really interesting, especially since it's like you're replacing his Stormbolter and combat weapon for a like heavy flamer, and then the combat weapon, because the armored feet are bad. I wish it was a missile launcher and a Dreadnought combat weapon, but I guess we just asked too much.
I want to point out again, this is one of 3 models in the entire index that lets you bring plasma if you're a plasma fan. Maybe don't play Grey Knights. Actually, if you're a plasma fan, go play Dark Angels. Get out of here.
Yeah.
All right.
So next up is the unit that was our best unit that is now arguably one of our worst units.
Yeah.
But and by worst units, there's a world where I pray to God that I'm wrong. And I think I might be, only because it's like, if we are a scoring army, this unit right here is what scores the points.
I can fix interceptors with one thing. I can fix them right now. GW, are you listening? I can fix them. So, do you remember the name of their old psychic power?
Ethereal Castigation.
Do you know what the power is that the
Ethereal Castigation.
The Brotherhood champion has now? Ethereal Castigation, which gives them fight first.
Yep.
If you gave these motherfuckers fight first, like,
that'd be hot.
Woo! You. I'm back up to 30 of them in every list, man. Well, maybe not 30, but
maybe not. They're expensive now.
But I mean, like 10, 5 at least. Yeah. But yeah, they lost all that. They are very fast and a very fast army, so they no longer stand out as having any kind of specialty. They can auto advance with fly 18 inches, I guess, if you want them to. They can't charge afterwards. That's another thing I thought they were gonna get, is like they'd get advance and charge. They did not. They get personal teleporters, which is like the old ethereal castigation. So they can shoot, or they can move in the movement phase, then they can shoot in the shooting phase, and then they can automatically move 6 inches after shooting. So they kind of get half of ethereal castigation, because if you actually got that cast off, which was on a 7, so you only got it off half the time, never when you needed it, you could move a full movement, but now you can move 6. So
you're moving the same amount in theory, because it's like you were moving 12, and then you were ethereal castigation to move 12, which is 24. Now you just auto advance and move 18, and then you free move 6.
Yeah.
So pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, except that if you advance, you can't shoot unless you spend a CP to allow them to shoot, and then you cannot use personal teleporters unless they have shot. It says in your shooting phase after this unit has shot. So unlike the way ethereal castigation used to be worded, which it may shoot.
Fair.
Now it is, it must shoot. So,
you just do Death from the Warp. 1 CP. You get to shoot because all your stuff is assault.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I'm saying then you're bringing them specifically to like support that. They're only going to have 1 special weapon, which you could, I just, unfortunately in 10th, they stood out in 9th because they were our only fast unit. Now everything is fast. Everything, except Avendred.
Well, yes, but so there's the different. There is a difference though, because it's like there is fast, and then there's like fast, and so like our army is now fast. These things are fast in the sense that what I wish, because interceptors to me are just fast strikes. I wish these had sticky objectives. But what these are going to be good at is moving 18 for behind enemy lines when they're screening you out, and you can't deep strike in, so you have to run in. So now they give you engage, because they are a really good engage target, because now you're going either 18, which can get you from board edge or from quarter to quarter pretty easily, and you're outside the 3 inches. So I think one of the lists that I made techs 1 unit of these, and then the reason I tech 1 is for the easy scoring or the easy angles because of how fast they move for my purgation squads to be able to indirect.
Yeah, they are good forward observers, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
These are lackluster now. Those are great points. If they had advance and charge, if they had fight first, if they had sticky objectives, obviously not all of those things, or else they'd go right back to being literally the best like model like unit in the game. I just don't think they bring enough at the moment.
So does anything actually have the assault keyword?
No, not on anything that has teleport assault, from what I remember.
That's rough.
Yeah, our flamers aren't assault. That's why they gave us a stratagem to give us assault.
Yeah.
One of the first things I was watching talking about this index release was people saying that, oh, the flamers are assault, the flamers are assault, and I'm like, you know, I'm obviously not a part of the video, and I'm like, no, they're not, and they haven't been since I've played anyway. Granted, not that long, but like they haven't for at least a whole edition been assault. So
let's see. All right, move on to the
purgy purgs.
Point efficient unit that we have.
I am still hopeful that purgators or purgation squads are good this edition. Yep. Astral Aim is back, baby. You don't have to cast it. I actually love from both a gameplay and a like lore perspective that they have to have a unit spotting for them. They don't just get indirect fire. They are psychically working with their brethren to grant them this ability. If that happens, every single weapon equipped by this unit has the indirect fire ability. This adds so much jank to our list that it's insane. I still am not convinced, though, that this is good. I just think it is janky. Like, you're not going to ever see like somebody bring 3 purgation squads. They're going to bring 1. There's a lot of stuff like holding down objectives you can do because you can fire Overwatch now in the movement phase. Does Overwatch specify you have to be able to see them? I think it does.
But if your weapon... Really? I don't really remember.
Well, someone in chat will probably check. I do have the core rules right here.
Is line of sight measured model by model now, or just like unit to unit?
Fire Overwatch. When... Oh, no, and is eligible to shoot as if it were in the shooting phase. So you can
do indirectly.
You can do indirect. Wow, okay.
Hot.
That's easy. Hot. So, I am probably missing something here, Quinn, just because you're better at this game than I am. But these guys can come down from Deep Strike or Teleport Assault. They can land on the top of a ruin, or behind a ruin, or on another ruin, and fire at a unit in another ruin, whatever you want. They can come down, immediately fire everything using incinerators. If you haven't caught a trend here in this stream, you should already be tearing the psi cannons and silencers off of your models for the flamers. They don't care that they're at -1 to hit for indirect fire because they're flamers, so they're automatically going to hit. You'll get 4d6 shots at range 12, strength 6, -1 damage. If you can find a way to be at a higher elevation than your target, you're at -2 AP. Because you're ignoring cover, you're effectively at -3 AP. You are nearly plasma flaming people at this point. At the end of their turn, assuming they haven't beelined it for that purgation squad by then, you just pull them back into Deep Strike.
So even without the incinerators, we will have 6 guys plus Crow with bolters that are on a higher elevation. So
plus
that
Crow?
Oh wait, this is purgation. Oh, sorry, Brotherhood champion.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, yeah.
There we go. For some reason, I was still thinking Purifiers because we were talking about flamers for a minute.
Gotcha.
So I was like, that's still even. That's like That's still a lot of bolter shots to come after the incinerator shots.
Yep.
And especially because you're probably gonna be within 12. Well, you have to be within 12, so you'll still get the rapid fire, so you'll still get 4 shots each. And then chances are something will have a damage marked on it from the incinerator, so then if you get any storm bolter shots through, that just picks up anything that was straggling.
So what Quinn is referencing is that you can take a 10-man purgation squad, which nobody did in 8th or 9th because the other 6 or the other 5 dudes that you add to the squad can't take a special weapon. But in 10th, and I've seen this other places as well, you can put a bro champ in with them because the Brotherhood champion can join strike squads and purgation squads. Now you have a squad with fight first, so you really don't want to charge them. You don't want to stop near them because you're going to get overwatched with indirect flamers automatically hitting you. And you don't want to be around them when they land from teleport assault because they're going to do 4d6 strength 6 minus 1 AP 1 damage auto hitting flamer shots, followed by 7 storm bolters because of the champion, all able to fire out of line of sight. And if you really want to make those storm bolters do something, like you're trying to just kill the last few grots off of a enemy objective. Actually, don't grots have sticky now?
I have no idea.
Anyway, maybe that's a bad... You're trying to kill the last few models off of your opponent's objective. You can spend 1 CP to make them all assault and give them +1 to hit. Because it's not Overwatch, so you effectively then ignore the indirect fire penalty. There's a lot of play there with a potential 10-man Purgation squad that is available in 10th that was completely lacking in 9th and 8th. So there's some play there. It's expensive though because you're still paying the Purgator price for every Stormbolter and melee weapon dude. But it does make it, and then you're paying 85 for the Brochamp, so no one wants to charge that unit. Well, very few things want to charge that unit. So there's some play.
What happens if you start the? So let's say that I bring them in from Deep Strike and I'm 9.1 away. I have the Flamers on an elevated part of the ruin, all the other guys on the ground. So after I flame you, I could try and make a 9-inch charge with fight first, since I'm on the ground. So the Flamers will straggle behind, but the other 6 dudes and the champion will still be on the ground.
And you'll get the extra AP on the weapons that you wanted to have them anyway.
Yep.
So
correct.
Yeah, there's some jank there. Apollo said in chat, so far every game I've watched, we have won matches due to our movement shenanigans, but been outshot and out meleeed. I'm not sure how I feel yet. If you're interested, you can go back and watch the first, 45 minutes of this cast where effectively Quinn and I just aired our dirty laundry about how everything about this that we dislike. So we agree with you. We are expensive. We move all over the place. We play the mission very, very well. But if your definition of winning a match of 40k is tabling your opponent, you can go play Ultramarines right now and run 3 Redemptors and 3 Gladiator Reapers. Because you'll just smoke anything in the game off the board in one shooting phase with Oath, a moment, and all of those devastating wounds. So, I actually failed to mention this earlier. So, Apollo, thank you for actually making me remember. The mental level you have to be at to win games with the 10th edition Grey Knight Codex is so much fucking higher than most of the other factions in the game that it cannot be denied. Like I said, you can play Ultramarines or Deathwatch or any other like Space Marine faction right now. You can grab as many units with as many devastating wounds as you can possibly get, march up the field, be mostly shitty drunk, and probably win matches. You cannot do that in 10th right now with Grey Knights. You have to be on the top of your game if you want to win, especially against those players playing those lists. So
real talk, I'm not gonna lie to you. What I think is going to happen is the good Grey Knight list is somehow gonna have like 6 units in it, and it's all gonna be elite as shit, and it's gonna come down to this turn, this one unit does this one thing, I score points,
and then
it's like,
and then I miss out of there.
Yeah,
so you cannot interact with us.
And then it's like, so you're gonna have like 6 to 8 units, maybe 9. I'm gonna say between 6 to 9 units. Each unit needs to serve a purpose. Each turn, you're going to use your resources to have that unit do its purpose. So it's like what those are yet, I'm not sure. Some number are librarians. Let's just say 3. You know what? Spitball it. Give or take, that's 3 of your units because they're gonna do something. Apollo says he feels like we've become 9th edition Eldar and Harlequins. Ignore the opposition and play points only.
I don't think Apollo played when there were 3x9 Void Reavers around just deleting 1,400 points of anybody's models on turn 1, but you know that was patched. That was patched.
He's referring to the tricks, which
yes.
When I went to Kansas City, I was talking to a bunch of people, and they were all like, Grey Knights, from what we've seen and heard so far, before we got everything leaked, they were like, they're very, very tricksy. They'll be anywhere, anytime, and that's just how they're gonna have to play. Hence why I think it's just gonna come down to you probably play a toolbox list. So I had mentioned earlier, right now, we just play whatever seems the most busted and see what we can get away with, right? But what it's going to come down to is you're going to play a toolbox list where you have 6 to 9 tools. And each turn, you're going to have a job to do, which tool serves that job, and then that's the unit you're going with. You're going to mist them, or you're going to teleport assault them, or you're going to try and advance and charge. Something along those lines, but because of how expensive we are, you're going to have to play, again, super tight movement phase, which is arguably probably one of my weakest phases, is the phase that you're going to have to become the best at. But if this army is very movement phase oriented, the better you are at the movement phase, the better you'll be at the game as a whole. Because if it comes down to, if you're playing against somebody that's like, yeah, I'm good at this game, and then they just kind of like, they don't place things correctly, they don't pre-measure enough, or they don't know how the movement phase, like all the intricacies around it, you're just going to pick them apart in the movement phase itself. And that's probably what this army wants to do. So it's going to be pre-measure, figure out where a unit's going to go, and then hope that you're just able to be in any place to score whatever cards may flip for you that turn.
That tracks. I absolutely agree.
But the last real unit in the non-vehicle units. Well, he's a vehicle, but don't tell me that. But he's our other good old boys.
We got
the Nemesis
Dreadknight. Hell yeah! So they did the Greatsword dirty. They did the Dread Fist dirty. A lot of what we're gonna say we already mentioned in the Grandmaster, because it's the same profile. I don't see, like, the Greatsword profile is so bad now that I'm just gonna put hammers on everything. Like, yeah, I'm gonna miss more, but I don't care, because when I hit, I'll actually kill something. Cannot believe what they did to the sweet profile. Like, owie. Strike profile lost NAP. Like, okay, everything kind of went down NAP. But the sweep profile is why you brought the sword, and the sweep profile is now garbage. It's probably okay into like witches, or I don't know, like a bunch of gaunts.
I mean, no,
that's not why you're bringing a Dreadknight either. Like,
this sword. So let me tell you. Again, you said gaunts and you said witches. Our plebs wound those units on 2s. This wounds them on 3s with that sword on the sweep.
Oh, you're right. It's strength 5. Wow.
Strength 5. They did it so dirty. And I think like what they should have. One of the compensations was with Dreadfist 6 attacks, Hammer 5. I think the Great Sword should have been 6 attacks, 12 on the sweep.
1 damage though, like that's
it's
hurts
awful,
so bad.
Yeah, that was our anti-infantry weapon, and now we don't have an anti-infantry weapon anymore.
Storm bolters.
They don't have them.
I know. It's not on the... That's the joke. It isn't on the Dreadnought.
If a Dreadnought could come... If there was a checkbox for add Stormbolter, I'd check it every time. I just give him a top weapon. Where's his top gun?
What about no silencer, but 2 hurricane bolters?
Ooh, twin linked, baby. If something on these had twin linked,
oh, man,
I'd be so excited.
Yeah. So,
like, real talk, give Gatling Silencer twin linked instead of sustained hits.
Yeah, well, there aren't 2 of them, and I think that's the big thing for the twin link part, right?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh,
it's 6 barrels. It's 1 gun.
No, it's 7 barrels.
Oh, it's 7 barrels. Okay, well, it's still 1 gun.
If there was an increment of 2, I would have been like, look, every 2 barrels rerolls the wound.
Honestly, though, the Dreadknights, like, they got advance and charge. That's advance and shoot and charge, advance and fall back and shoot and charge. They got everything. That is incredible. I don't want to sound like I hate the Dreadnought. Wow, that is just bonkers. I expected advance and charge. I did not expect all the rest of it. The Incinerator again has been buffed. It's 18-inch range now. It ignores cover. It also is torrent, and so if this thing is down to its final wounds, doesn't matter. It's still gonna hit everything that you roll. It's also a great anti-charge threat because 2d6, strength 6, minus, there are a lot of units in the games that won't charge that. If you want to just, so for instance, if you want to just evaporate a Harlequin troop squad, that's a good profile for that. Because you're wounding on 2s, and yeah, they have an invul, but could be a lot of shots.
So what I'd like, the one change, I think the only change on data sheet that I would like to see actually taken off is the second page. This model can be equipped with up to 2 of the following. I think the rest of the sentence should be taken off.
Oh, but cannot take duplicates?
Yep.
I would just take incinerators at this point,
exactly.
Dude, with that profile. Yeah.
I mean, but it's like, I think it's like, that doesn't make us busted. It's AP 1/1 damage. I think, but that finally makes it decent.
Yeah. The problem, that would be hilarious, and I love it. We all know why they're not going to change that, though, because that's not what comes in the box.
True.
I wish it would be awesome to have 2, like, I mean, not awesome, but it'd be fun to have like 2 Gatling silencers, then maybe they even get twin linked or something, but yeah, that's unfortunately not gonna happen. I will point out again, the Psy Cannon kind of got nerfed and then also kind of got buffed. The strength is a wash because everything else went up in toughness that it's designed to shoot. So that's fine. That's good. That means they were paying attention. It lost an AP. It did gain a damage, which is pretty big because anything Quinn pointed out earlier, anything that fails, we're going to see a lot of like Terminators this edition, I think. And at least it's 1 dead Terminator. So it's no longer 2/3 of a Terminator.
Yep.
But this is just empiric reprisal.
It's so good.
Shoot and fall back and advance and charge. And, like, it's just anything. Like the movement phase is its bitch.
True. The one thing that we did not touch on was another change that was made, and that our baby carriers can blow up now.
Oh yeah. Thank God.
No. Get out of here. No.
I love explosions.
Do
you know, like, I had people I played be like, well, don't they explode? And I said, nope. And they're like, really? Like, yes. Like, no, I'm not lying to you. They don't. Like, they don't explode. I think it's fine. I don't care. Explosions are hilarious. Whatever.
We don't have a field no pain immortals anymore. That's
Yeah,
why
no.
that's why I don't
the
want them to
whole
explode.
army doesn't. Yeah, I get why you don't want them to explode. Like, I get it. I understand. I'm just saying I don't. I mean, I don't
Fair.
I mean, I can't think of. Maybe a game could be won or lost by a Dreadnought exploding. Doubtful.
I've seen there have been games that I've played where I've killed one thing, it exploded, and it caused a cataclysmic.
Yes,
like
I have seen
it's like,
that too. Yeah.
games can be swung by explosions, but
There was
like
I think it was a Tabletop Titans game. The Tau Codex had like just come out for 9th. Adam Camilleri flew out from Australia to play on stream. He's excited to play this Tau. Goes second. One of his devilfish explode, which blows up his other devilfish, which blows up his railgun thingy, whatever that thing's called. And it ended up, it honest to God killed like a third or half of his army. And it was hilarious. Only because I wasn't playing that game. But like, you could see Adam's shoulders just slump. This is all live, you know? You can't like fix it in post or something. It was pretty funny.
Fair.
Yeah.
All right. I think after the Dreadnought is when I'm going to call it, because it's almost midnight here and I got to be up early.
Ah, okay. I did want to go over a list with you. I was going to stop. I mean, I wasn't going to go over the, like...
Oh, okay, cool.
And I just messed up my view. Anyway, I do want to go over one list with you. Your Storm Raven one, we didn't go over at all. I made a list that's, I think we'll see more of. Here, I'll send it to you on the old Discord. I think we'll see something more like this. So I was wrong about this, by the way. This is one incinerator per Terminator squad, not 2, but so this is 6 Terminator squads, 3 strike squads, and a purgation squad. It's 41 models. The Terminator squads are led by Librarians and Draigo. I still want to play with Draigo a little bit. Again, I don't think that he's gonna last. One of the Librarians has Inescapable Wrath. The other one has the Sigil. The third one has nothing, and then of course the Draigo squad also has nothing because Draigo. But this is a list. This is an all infantry list that I think will play the mission well and win games.
So one thing to keep in mind is that you do not have to have those librarians run with the Terminators every game. So it's like the one librarian that's not attached to that Terminator, or the one librarian that doesn't have an upgrade, I'd probably always keep him separate until you go up against a psychic army where you need his leadership or the leader ability.
And then just drop him in to grab stuff on backfields and blow things up.
Yeah, it just gives you another flex unit.
That's interesting. I didn't know that you could choose at the start of battle. I thought you had to choose at list creation.
Nope. So at list creation, you include the character, and in your mind, you know what you want to equip it to, but you do not equip until the start of the game, where you're also declaring like reserves and all of that good jazz. You're like, gotcha. This librarian with Wrath is going to equip to these Terminators. Otherwise, you just leave it separate for that game.
Cool.
So it's like, the one with Wrath you probably have equipped all the time, but you don't have to. You could have it equipped to, you could just have it by itself, but because it has Wrath, you probably leave it. The Sigil, you could choose to also play around with that one by itself, so you can drop it in and then ghost out.
Yeah. So this is a list I want to play here soon. This is a very, I'm thinking this is a very competitive play the mission list. The only jank I don't see sticking through here is, like I said earlier, Draigo. He's just so expensive. And he's only in a 5-man now, so I'm not gonna have that like shock troop squad. Because I need them. Like the thing that stood out to me the most playing that one game, and granted I've only played one game, is I kept looking around on like the side of the table trying to see where my units were, and it's that they didn't exist.
Yeah.
Were so expensive. Like I always needed to one more unit. Always. I needed one more. I never teleport assaulted. It was a 2,000 point game. I never teleport assaulted more than 2 squads because I didn't have the units. Like the ones that were down that were doing what I needed them to, and I only had 2 that weren't at any one time. So I'm not going to take 10-mans. I'm going to play around with all MSU, primarily Terminators, so that they're a little like durable, and I'm going to be cagey as hell. I'm not going to show my face to like gun lines. I'm not going to, unless they have, you know, haloed in Soulfire. And I'm going to rely on Teleport Assault and Deep Strike for maneuverability, because I'm not going to have any Rhinos. I'm not going to have any like NDKs in this list. Honest.
I like it.
Cool. That's I thought it was really cool in contrast to yours, where like you're trying out all these neat little tech pieces, and I tried a Vindicare in my game. By the way, that dude did exactly what I expected him to, which he either rolled a 1 to hit, a 1 to wound, or a 1 to damage. He did very little except keep my opponent afraid of 1/3 of the board.
Fair.
Because he didn't want to lose his HQs and stuff. Otherwise he did nothing.
Did you ever gain any extra CP?
No, he doesn't do that now.
Oh, who's there's one of the characters
it's the Calidus.
Oh, is that which one it is?
I always mess up the Calexis and the Calidus. I think it's the Calidus that gains you CP. But you're right, one of them does. And then one of them also makes it so that you can target a stratagem that's used and make it cost twice as much. Or cost 1 more, but...
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like... I mean, I like the one of Draigo. It's like, man, it's just rough that you can't first to the fray, but that happens.
Yeah, I mean... 5s to charge out of Deep Strike. Be incredible.
True.
Yeah, so Draigo's 155 points. I talked about those Agent of the Imperium squads. I think they're called like Exigent squads or something. I can't remember. They are 35 points. They are battle line, so they're 2. Well, actually, they might not be battle line, but I think they have 2 OC. They can advance and action. They come in a 10-man. They're actually kind of neat models. They kind of look like Sisters of Battle power armor. But it's men like wearing the same like style, like the like ultra gothic like black armor.
That's fair.
I think that sounds interesting, and for 35 points, that's 5 points less than a Servitor squad. I think they even have an indirect grenade launcher or something. But yeah, I think they're a kill team box. I think that might have some play, and with one of those in there, that still leaves me with 120 other points to spend on other stuff. What? I don't know, because we're so expensive.
So it's like one thing that I think I would do with your list, because I like purgations, but it's like I like purgations and I like Draigo, but the only change it's like I actually might try your list. The only change I would make is Draigo becomes a chaplain.
Yep.
So that saves you 65 points. With those 65 points, let's see, what was I had the thought in my head, and then I lost it, but what was I doing? 65 points, and then you swap these out for... And then I'm thinking about swapping the purgations out, so 165 plus the... Was it 65 points difference? So that's 230.
Could add another unit of Terminators.
Ooh. I mean, Actually, if you do that, you'll be at 225 out of the 230. You'll be at 1995. You'll have another unit of Terminators, and then you'll have you'll have another unit of Terminators. So it's like you won't have Draigo for the +3, but you will have the Chaplain for the +1 to wound, and another unit of Terminators, which heaven forbid that you just have another unit of Terminator.
Yeah, that'd be the worst. And because ours are battle line, we can take this many squads.
True.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to talk about your list or not. I know it's late there.
Yeah, if you want to throw it up, I can talk about it real quick.
Okay, cool. So if you were getting excited when he was talking about the Vendread, this is the list that he's speaking of. So this is a Storm Raven with all of the fixins, a Vendread with, quote, whatever good guns, end quote, because who knows right now.
Man.
Crow, Purifiers, 2 Libbies, not 3. 2x5 Termies, 1x5 Strike, and 2x5 Purgation with Flamers. So how do you anticipate this list playing?
I start the Storm Raven. The question is, it's like I think I start the Storm Raven in Hover with the Dread, with Crow, with the Purifiers all in it. By we I mean like in my area we normally do player place terrain, so it's easy enough for me to give myself lanes to move the Storm Raven. I can place the terrain however I deem where I can just place it and 20 up the gut. What I'm probably going to do is deploy it greedily on the line with a straight line. It'll probably be the last thing that I try and put out. Only so that way maybe I can guarantee that it has the best positioning. But I put it in hover, 20 inches. I move straight forward 20 inches. That leaves me with a 4-inch gap to cover between my opponent's deployment zone and where my unit ended. I get everything out wholly within 3. I am functionally 1 inch away from the front line. I cannot charge, but I now have a Dread that will probably get out further back, but I'm still within 6 of Crow and the Purifiers. So now I get 24 Purifying Flame shots, 20 of which hitting on 3s, 4 of which hitting on 2s, all re-rolling 1s to hit, all re-rolling 1s to wound. Again, if I'm placing the Storm Raven last, it's probably so I can try and take out a blob of infantry.
And if you're firing into infantry, they're anti-infantry 2, so the reroll 1s to hit are really what you're looking for anyway, right? Because any 2s are going to automatically wound anyway.
So it's like that's my plan for those units, and then Crow being attached to the Purifiers, I can always mist away. So that's what I plan on doing there, but I hopefully shouldn't have to do that. And if I do, again, I'm if they want to charge me, if they want to shoot me, I'm pulling the Flamers off. So that way I now just have the melee unit that is +1 to hit. So that works. The 2 Libbies, one with Sigil, one with Wrath. The Sigil one and both Libbies are functionally acting independent until I go up against something that is a Psychic army, in which case I will slap it onto the unit of terms just for those like extra good feel no pains against the Psychic attacks.
Got it.
Again, I want to be able to harass with the Libbies. I like to treat them as units of however many I have. So to me, this would be 1 unit of 2 until I need them to be independent units, only because I just like dropping in Vortex. And then when I do need to strap them on, 1 unit of terms will have +1 to charge. 1 unit will have the Sigil, the strikes. I really like the idea of multiple units of strikes, but you can make 1 unit do the same 3 units can by moving correctly. I pregame touch an objective. That is now mine and sticky. Yep. They can just move and they can now just move and touch something else.
Yep, they can keep going.
So I just pick them up, drop them down, pick them up, drop them down, and then the goal is to be able to, in a perfect world, have as many objectives as I possibly can stickied, so I don't even have to touch them, and then I can have every unit do whatever I need it to do. And then when my opponent feels like they need to move over and touch those objectives, I hop to their side of the board, touch theirs with sticky, and then I make them chase me. The 2 units of Purgations with Flamers. This is arguably the flex slots. I purposefully did 2 units of 5 because I wanted max flamers instead of 1 unit of 10, solely because I didn't have the points to fit in the champion. If I can fit in the champion, I probably take a unit of 10, but as we've talked about, we're already so elite that 1 unit of 10, I'd almost rather have 2 units because of how few units we have. And then with the 4 flamers, with indirect, having the functional, most games having the 2 one-man Libbies will give me the indirect that I need. The strikes give me the indirect. The Storm Raven can give me the indirect that I need. So I feel like I still have plenty of scout units. I now have 8 flamers I can pick up, I can put down, so that way I can still try and shoot off pesky hordes or infantry. And then, again, the strikes for sticky, the terms for the consistency of the res, the OC, and the if I need a good melee threat. These guys can go in and still do some melee stuff and potentially trade up because of the heal. We talked about the Libbies are just good. The Purifiers with the Crow, with the Vindred, with the Storm Raven. Again, that's a very expensive package. But the Storm Raven, since we didn't go over it, it's like the Twin Hurricanes, Twin Linked, reroll in the wounds. Twin Las, Twin Linked, reroll in the wounds. Twin Melta, Twin Linked, reroll in the wounds. These are the guns that our army doesn't have.
Yeah.
These are our anti-tank, but depending on the type of tank army, if it's Knights, this Storm Raven's dead.
Yep.
If it's Guard, this Storm Raven might be alive for a turn, because -1 to damage at all times is pretty good.
Yeah. Good.
So that's kind of how I anticipate playing this list. Now, again, I did say that the Purgations were the flex slot. Let's say, in theory, I'm flexing out of the Purgations. What am I putting in? 1 unit, 165. That screams a 3rd Libby with 55 points remaining. So we know instantly that's a 3rd Libby and then a 5-man or a 4-man Servitor unit. That could just be the plebs that sit at home. Easy enough. It just gives me another unit that can sit on an objective while everything else does a thing. It gives me a 3rd Libby, so that way I can, I could, in theory, then always have one on terms, and have one to flex on its own, if I wanted to go that route. Otherwise, with the Purgations, 330, if we drop, if we drop those all together, then we could do 2 units of strikes, which is 270, leaving us with 50 left over, which again is 4 mana Servitors. So it's like, I'll probably tell anybody the same thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with flexing in a unit of Servitors for 50 points, because I did it in 9th. They just sit on an objective. If your opponent doesn't have a good way to get to them, they'll serve their job. They do, I can always make a move if I want to cleanse. Otherwise, they're just going to sit there while everything else is able to play the game, so I don't have to sweat one objective. That's
Seems good.
Yeah.
That's about all you got. Sounds like you've really worked this out. I'm excited to see you make this work.
So I'm definitely trying, but I will definitely inform you of my findings throughout the week.
Good. Report back.
Heard.
Now it is almost midnight there. Thank you so much. This has been a nearly 4-hour stream. I thought we'd go for 2 hours, but like, just so much. Nobody's gonna watch this whole thing except maybe Ken, because Ken is a champion. He's a Brotherhood champion. He gets fight first.
I think John will wake up and start it back. He'll finish. I have faith in John.
Yeah, that's fair. But there's a lot of excellent information in here. Thank you everybody for joining us. This is an exciting time to be playing 40k. There is no meta. There are no good lists. There are no bad lists. There's some broken shit out there. But now, thanks to the digital point upgrades, we don't have to deal with it for like 9 months and just suck it up. So I'm excited. I hope you all are too. Grey Knights have some play. Yeah, this is a great time. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that stuff. It does actually help me quite a bit. And don't forget to call your mother.